Hey, little blue bar says we're live. Today is Tuesday, the 11th of December, 2018. Hello, everybody in the chat room. On the panel is our Flat Earth dude and the lovely Dave Marsh. So good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Karen. Hello, everybody in the chat.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hey, so how was America then?
Well, America was amazing. You know what I mean? I met some really cool people. Probably the highlight of the conference was having a few people back to my room.
Hey!
Namely Nathan Thompson, Miguel Angel, Rob Skiba, and ODD. So it was a pretty cool room at the time. Yeah, so it was good to hang out with ODD and Nathan Thompson and Miguel, and Rob Skiba was asking me a few questions about the moon too, which was interesting. So yeah, it was good, and obviously I got to meet Richard Hopkins. So that was Mr. Thrive and Survive, which was brilliant. And like I say, we got the opportunity to do our presentation. There was a few issues in regards to the presentation because we initially thought that the presentation was 45 minutes each. So we both got our heads stuck down, and we're both like doing these presentations, like, you know, fill the time. And then about 2 days before we got to the conference, I think I'd just about finished the presentation. Rich email says, "I've just found a bombshell. Apparently, our presentation is 45 minutes between us." So we had to do a little bit of chopping and changing. You know what I mean? And I wasn't really happy because I wanted to present stuff what I'd found, and I needed more than 20 minutes to do it. So I had to do like a really chopped down, edited version of what I wanted to present, which was okay, but it was on the back of Rob Skiba's presentation as well. So it got delayed till 11 o'clock that morning on the Thursday morning on the conference, which cost me another 5 minutes. So I only ended up having like just under 20 minutes to try and get it across, which it was a bit rushed, but you know what I mean? These things happen at these conferences. You know what I mean? Everything's done to a certain time. But it was good to get the information out, and it got some good feedback. And there were some people said, like, you know what I mean? It was probably the most informative presentation there were, because when you go to these conferences, what you do find is because we're flat earthers and we know our stuff. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of stuff you can present to somebody what they don't already know.
Right.
So it is quite difficult to try and get something across what somebody don't know. And like I say, Rich put some really good stuff out on the tides, which he obviously showed a couple of weeks before we actually did the presentation. I think he did a little mini presentation a bit, and I did mine on the lunar eclipse, and I also did a little bit of research into long distance photography. You know, observing skylines from a distance. So I will do a little bit on that as well. So. Yeah, that's it basically. But like I said, the conference was brilliant. Got to meet loads of people. Went to the billboard. Bling bling. Yeah,
bling bling.
The funny thing is, I'll tell you a little story about that, because I was at the airport in Manchester, and I had a message come through from Bling Bling from Facebook Messenger, and she was saying that she wasn't very happy about my video. You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, what's going on here? I thought, what video have I put out recently? What can like offend people? And as it turned out, she thought I was Dave Moore. Yeah, allegedly Dave. Yeah, so she was messaging me thinking I'm Dave Moore, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then she realised she'd got the wrong person. So it was quite funny though, because when we got talking, and I says, oh yeah, I'm just on my way to the conference, she says, I am too. And I had about 2 hours spare, and we chatted for about 2 hours, literally 2 hours before I got on the plane, right up until the time I got on the plane. And then obviously when we met there, we had a drink together. I think we had a dinner together one day as well, and spent a bit of time together, and it was fun. Yeah,
that's great. She's something else.
I only heard nice words about you, Dave. Everybody said I met Dave Marsh. I met Dave Marsh was lovely. I met Dave Marsh. Dave Marsh was lovely. That's what I heard.
Quite funny as well. You know, Rick Hummer, when he introduced Dave Moore for his presentation, yeah, he introduced him as Dave Marsh as well. That was quite interesting.
Oh dear.
Oops.
Yeah, twice as well. If you look at Dave's presentation on Robbie Davison's Flat Earth conference channel, you'll see that Rick Hummer actually calls him Dave Marsh twice.
Oh, well, what does that feel like then?
It was quite funny, but like I said, the highlight of the conference was probably the after party when we all went to.
Did you video it?
Yeah, it's videoed. If you go on to Flat Earth Fuckers
All right.
live stream, it did a live stream of it, and I sing on karaoke. Nathan Thompson sings on karaoke. ODD does a 20-minute set on there as well. Yeah, it was good. Because everybody thought, oh, these flat earthers, let's listen to them sing. They're going to make a fool of themselves, and everybody was like, brilliant. It was good. So if you get a chance, click on Flat Earth Fockers page and scroll down to the after party, the Flat Earth after party, and you'll see some good stuff on there because he streamed it for 3 hours. So there is some good stuff on there.
Right. Did you get to meet Robert Forsh?
Of course I did. I woke up because I was jet lagged. I woke up on the Wednesday morning at 4 a.m. Yeah, and I went downstairs. You know Robert's an early bird, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, he was already up and about. Like so, we had a coffee together, and we went for a walk round, and then we walked into the actual conference hall, and we had a look at his car, and obviously he had his jugs on the car, and Mad Mike's rocket was in there as well. So it was good, like, to hang about with him. I think we hung about for about 2 hours. Yeah, but he was busy. He was always doing interviews every time I saw Robert. He did no end of interviews. Like, I didn't really want to do any interviews, to tell you the truth. You know what I mean? I just wanted to go there and enjoy the experience. I didn't want to be doing interviews every 5 minutes. So, yeah. But, yeah, hanging about with Robert, it was brilliant.
Did you meet Corey?
Meet who, sorry?
Corey Sheet Show.
Yeah, of course I did. And guess what? I had a roommate. Guess who my roommate was?
Corey? No, I don't know.
The Mogile.
Really? You had the Mogile?
I had the Mogile in my room for 3 days.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love John the Mogile as well. Sorry, I do love him, not John the Mogile.
Well, yeah, if you look on my Facebook page, you'll see a picture where we bump into IPS. Yeah. And I have my photograph up with him, and Mogile's doing a V above the back of his head. It's quite funny. Yeah, hanging around with John was brilliant.
But did his wife come, or was it just him?
Yeah, and his wife, yeah, and his dog. Yeah, I had a room full.
Well, you had all of them in there, did you?
Yeah.
Was he there when the others were there? ODD and all those?
Yes. Yeah, he stayed right till I think he went back on the Friday night. Yeah, he went back on the Friday night.
Also, did you meet Alex?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah. I've had my photograph took with him. He was there the first day I got there. You see, when I initially arrived at the hotel, the first person I met was Alex and Robbie Davison. So I went to the bar and had some food and a drink with him. Yeah. And his live performance, it was brilliant. You know what I mean? To see him live on stage, it was amazing. Like, it was like a little mini concert. It was good.
Aww.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people I didn't meet. You know what I mean? It's I met a lot of people, and my friend Sharon from last year, she came as well. Like I say, and I wasn't expecting to see her, but she comes, so we hung around with her. And there's a couple of guys from Canada who was a good laugh as well. I can't remember the names now, but I should be able to. But I can't remember them. Yeah, there was always outside getting stoned.
You didn't get to see the Rockies.
No, but I went out with Miguel on the Friday night, and it was a late one. Yeah, so literally I got in like early hours Saturday morning, and I came back and passed the Rockies, and you couldn't see him that morning when I came back early hours in the morning. And when I went downstairs to see the guys who were going to have a trip there, I said to him, you know what, you're going to struggle to see him today. I says, and I'm out because I'm not traveling all the way to there to not be able to see him. And later on that day I saw him. I said, I was the Rockies. Says we had to turn back. The weather was too bad. So they never got to see the Rockies anyway. So it's a shame, like, but I was definitely too hungover that day to go to the Rockies. And it was free.
Yes, I see, Dave. I think Mr. Thrive and Survive, he'd like to have really gone and seen them, but hey.
Yeah, like I say, we initially was going to go there, like, but the weather just turned bad on that Saturday morning, so it wasn't worth going. And like I said, they actually turned back and didn't get to see him. But yeah, like I say, it was an awesome experience, and I know a lot of people call out the conference and say, "Oh yeah, it costs this much, it costs that much." But yeah, you know what I mean. If you're a flat earther and you want to go and have a good time with the people on your level, then you can't beat it for something like that. It was like I say, it was top notch stuff.
It did have I think, you know, listening to the people, like some of the people that went, it just had a nice feeling to it. So everybody was happy, weren't they?
Yeah, like I say, it was brilliant.
Happy,
yeah, like I say, I really enjoyed it, and it's a bit of an anticlimax because I'd like put all my focus on that conference. You know what I mean? That I had that in my sights all the way through the year, and then when I got there, and then it was over, it's like, wow, what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? So, but like I say, I'm still making observations, and I've literally just finished one on the 25th of November. That was my last observation, where I'm doing like a series. I don't know if you've seen it on my lunar page, where I'm testing the moon, where I'm testing the anomaly. So I did like a 4-part series. I'm up to part 3 now. I've done part 3. I've just got to finish off the final part. Because what I did find out about the lunar anomaly, which I'll talk about later on, is that over a 4-year period, it's the perfect clock, and I'll explain that in a little bit.
I am pleased for you that people are starting to recognise what you're doing, though, Dave, because I don't know if anybody knows, but Dave also works really hard and he spends hours on his presentations. So I'm really pleased for you that people are beginning to recognise you.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but I did a radio interview for Manchester University the day before I went to the conference. It's on the 3rd year radio station for Manchester University. It's about an hour long, and I'm basically up against a couple of science philosophers, basically. So it's quite an interesting conversation, because they're talking a lot of theory. I'm talking a lot of observational facts. So if you get a chance, scroll down my page and look for the 3rd year Flat Earth interview with Dave Marsh, and it's had some good feedback. So,
and what about that tattoo?
Oh, my tattoo, yeah. Like I say, I did get in trouble for that, because you know I'm on the next series of tattoo fixes, series 6. Well, what I did, I went down to London for 3 days. I shot an interview. Then we did like a backstory, you know, where they film the backstory. It's all acting kind of stuff, you know what I mean? It's not really real as such. Yeah, you do the interview, and then you do these B-rolls on the back of the interview. So, for example, we're talking about the moon. They might flick to a page of the moon, and it was okay. Like I say, it's a little bit. It wasn't really real as such. The interview and the actual B-roll, but when you get into the actual studio for the tattoo, you can actually be yourself. You know what I mean? You walk into the tattoo studio and you say, "My name is David Marsh. I've come here today to have a tattoo based on an experience or something that I've found out, whatever." And then you tease them with. You know what I mean? They want to know why you're here, and you like tease them, and that's all real. So there is a little bit of like fake side to it, you know what I mean, where it's all like smoke and mirrors kind of thing, but there is like a real bit to it when you get into the studio. So the first bit, you're not really yourself, you know what I mean, you have to follow a script and do all these other things, but when you get in the studio, you can actually be yourself. So I had the tattoo. I basically had like it's like the earth, like land, with like a tree in the center, and it's got the moon rising up through it into like an eclipse. So,
it sounds pretty nice. Do you like it now?
Yeah, it's okay. It's funny because 2 days before I got the call to go on Tattoo Fixers, I was telling someone that I'd never have another tattoo again, and then I got the call 2 days later. I was like, "Damn," you know what I mean? But it's
getting about you, aren't you?
Yeah, but you have to go through a lot of background stuff to get on that Tattoo Fixers. You know what I mean? They asked me to go on it, but I had to sit through I had to do an interview with the scout. I had to do an interview with the producer. I had to have a psychological report face to face with a psychologist for an hour, and then obviously only then can you get to go on the show. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, and you don't just get the call and you turn up there and do it. There's a lot to it.
You get a bit bigger though, you will, Dave.
Yeah, but interestingly, I did a post on Facebook about the tattoo fixers, and I got a call from the producers, and basically I was in breach of contract because I'm actually still under contract. Yeah, when I signed the contract, my contract doesn't end until I think it's 2 weeks after the last episode has been aired. Yeah, and they was saying I was a bit naughty because I shouldn't have been sharing it on social media, so I had to pull it off social media, which was a shame, like. So, but it should be aired next summer. And you know what I mean? Like I say, I don't know what kind of twists they're going to put on it. You know what I mean? Might have some clown music in the background with me walking up the street with a, I don't know, they might put a clown nose on me or something. I don't know.
It wasn't small either, though, was it, the tattoo?
What? Sorry?
It wasn't a small tattoo they gave you, was it?
No, it starts from my elbow and goes right down my forearm to my hand, basically. Yeah. But I mean, it's like I say, it's a good tattoo. You know what I mean? It was either that or Flat for Life, and basically they had a telescope with a scroll around it saying Flat for Life, and I wasn't having that on my hand. So,
can I just say, everybody, thank you, everybody who's just turning up in the chat room, and Renee, mwah, that's for Renee in the chat room. Thank you, Renee. Yeah. So, yeah, lots of things you've been doing, Dave.
Yeah, like I say, I've been busy, and hopefully, if everything goes to plan, at the end of December, I'm going to try and get to the last meeting at Speaker's Corner with Roxanne and the rest of the crew. I think John Smith Global Eye is going to be there as well. So it'd be good. It'd be good just to go down there one more time. Like I said, this has been my third time I've been down there. And if you want to see how crazy it is down there, just have a look on my page, on my YouTube channel for the Speaker's Corner video, because I don't know if you've seen it, but it's absolutely mental down there. You've got like about 30 people saying gravity, gravity, gravity in your face.
Oh.
2 hours. Yeah, it's like going 10 rounds with Mike Tyson down there. Like I got there and thought, oh yeah, this will be fun.
You know something? I sort of work for somebody who was I'm going to his house tomorrow. He's an ex-nuclear scientist, but lovely lifting the lid Robin wrote me the answers, because I just thought a man-to-man answers. He'll sent them all off, and the guy didn't believe me. And last time I went round there, he was jumping up and down in front of me. What about gravity? And I'm like, oh no, there is no such thing. And he kept jumping up. He wasn't happy either. Jump. Oh God, he's 80 something. This man.
Yeah, that's the problem. You see, whenever you're debating anybody, yeah, you're debating theories. You know what I mean? Yeah, all they can come up with is theories, because the globe model is based on a theory. Yeah, and if you trace the history of astronomy, what you'll find is the very first observations were made by Hipparchus in 2nd century BC. Yeah, he actually invented triangulation, which you know, all know we use today, you know, with sextants and what have you. So they still use his method today. But what he did back then, he tried to measure the distance of the stars with triangulation. Now, when you're using triangulation, really you need 2 points. You know, you need 2 reference points, and you need the longer your baseline, the length of your baseline, the more accurate your readings will be. But remember, this was 2nd century Greece before Christ, so it was quite a long time ago, and he couldn't do even though he invented triangulation, he couldn't actually perform the observation. So what he did, he presumed the stars were infinite. Yeah, so all astronomy is built up on that point. Yeah, because that was the first real observation. Yeah, where he failed to triangulate the stars, so he just presumed that they were infinitely fixed. Yeah. And now every single bit of information and theory has been built on the back of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because then it moved on to Ptolemy's model, then Copernicus, and it just moved out through the years. And what they've done, it's been a patchwork quilt, and they've just added patches here, there, and everywhere. And that's how we've got the heliocentric model today. But it's all been built up on the back of a huge mistake back in 2nd century BC. So it's interesting when you trace astronomy back to the roots and find out it was actually built up on a mistake. So what the reality that we're being taught today is built up on a huge error from the beginning of astronomy, which is
on purpose, though, wasn't it?
Sorry.
Was it on purpose, though? It was on purpose.
No, it wasn't on purpose. No, like I say, you know what I mean? It's
we don't know if that history's right, though, anymore, do we? We don't know if that's hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Yeah, like I say, you know what I mean? I don't know if you've heard that Max Eigen interview he did, where he basically says not just a few things we're told in history are a lie, but everything is a lie. And you know what? It probably could be, but what else can we do apart from refer to things from the past? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I know we can make our own observations now, but we still need to refer back to certain points in time. You know what I mean? To like look into information. You know what I mean? That's what history is, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's finding out. But like I say, it's I've got the Ptolemy's Almagest from 2nd century, and there is a when you read that book, there is a lot of stuff in that book. I'm like, it looks like this has been planted in this book. You know what I mean? It just doesn't fit the book, like, you know what I mean? And not only that, you've got to take into consideration the guy who's translating it as well. You know what I mean? He may be translating it for his agenda. You know what I mean? But there is a lot of because in Ptolemy's Almagest, they actually talk about there is a part to prove the Earth's curvature, and what they do, they use when they're out at sea and they're approaching land, the land rises up. You know what I mean? Yeah, we know that's perspective, but back then they're saying, yeah, they live on a ball because as they approach land, the land rises up from the bottom upwards. But I'll be looking at, but when I do my presentation, I've done a good little piece on the alleged Earth's curvature. Yeah, because there is quite a confusion around it. Yeah, some people say, oh yeah, it's an inferior mirage, and some say no, it's a superior mirage. So yeah, there is a way you can prove it, and I'll show you that later on in my presentation, because I do a little bit. I don't just jump straight into the moon. I build it up a little bit first, so I can show you a few other things.
You want to start your presentation, but just to say that Bling Bling is in the chat room, and she said hello, Dave.
Hey, how you doing? You all right?
Hey.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like I say, it was ironic how we started a conversation at the airport and basically went from there. Then obviously we met each other, and I think I was with her to the last day, just before she went as well. So that was good.
Shout out there to Bling Bling. Flat Earth Dude, did you want to say something? He unmuted himself just a second ago. Flat Earth Dude? Oh, he's obviously been called up. Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me?
We can
shout
hear
out
you.
to Bling Bling.
Oh,
Shout
and
out.
Kenny shouts out to you too, Bling Bling. Sorry, Bling Bling's just meeting everybody.
She's getting around.
Yeah, she is. Did you see what Bling Bling was doing in Hollywood? She was going for it on the streets the other day. Not last. Yeah, that's
her and I. We were teaming up in Hollywood and just talking to people about where they live, and it was great.
Karen, can you just give me 30 seconds to just? I've just got to nip out of the room a sec, yeah, and I'll be about 1 minute, yeah. So if you just want to carry on without me, I'll just be 1 minute, okay?
Sure.
Who else in the chat?
Well, there's loads of people in the chat. DJ Black, Jason, there's Bling Bling, Jin, hi Jin, Zulo, Red Squirrel, Teresa. That's what I can see. They'll probably all start putting their names in now. See Oddity.
Right on.
Yeah. Anyway, you had good fun with Bling Bling, didn't you?
Oh, it was great. Amazing. Hope we can do it again. That would be nice.
Oh, Midnight Gardener. Midnight Gardener's just come in the chat room. Hi, Midnight Gardener.
Midnight Gardener.
The plain truth. Hi,
Plain
Travis.
truth.
Hey, Alex is there. Hi, Alex.
How you doing, Alex?
Yeah, how you doing? I can't do it. You do it. You do
How
it.
you doing? Space is fake.
That's all right. That's very close. Did you hear that, Alex? And what's your other one? What about the water one? Come on.
Can I get a nice tall glass of bendy water?
Yeah. No, you can't actually.
No, I can't. They won't
Although
allow
someone
that.
did put a comment, was it Zenith? Because there was a machine, you know, when you put a speaker on and you put it through all these apertures, it makes the water sort of look like it's on a ladder or something. And he's saying, so you can do water, but that's totally manipulated water, isn't it? Like it will do something like that because of the sound waves.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Kind of fun.
Maybe he's saying, well, water does bend, but it doesn't bend naturally, does it?
I'm just driving down the road here. Always driving.
Where are you off to?
California, man.
Yeah, long drive there.
I left the violin shop, and then I got to do some grocery shopping on my way home.
It's different in America. You can ask Dave. If I had to drive to Dave, I'd be thinking, God, that's a couple of hours. In America, I remember when I stayed in San Jose, and my auntie and uncle took me to Disneyland, Universal Studios, Los Angeles. I stayed in one of those motels. It took 6-7 hours to drive them from San Jose to Los Angeles.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm back. It's funny you should say that because, like I say, you know, if we've got to drive like 2 hours, we're like, oh God, we've got to drive 2 hours. But that's just like a drive to the shop for somebody in America, isn't it? You know what I mean? They say, oh yeah, I just drove 24 hours to get here. Like, because I know the Morgal drove from Florida to Denver. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
that's a long drive.
Yeah, it took him 36 hours.
Long.
He did it in 36 hours.
I believe it.
I'd never seen one of these before. When we were traveling from San Jose down, this guy was on a bike, but because the journey was so long, his legs were kind of up on stirrups, so his feet weren't down. He's had his legs up.
Yeah.
On his bike. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I've never seen someone do that before. He went past and I thought, wow. I'm sure you Americans know what I mean. Dave.
Yes.
Well, Flat Up 2, do you want to say anything, or should we let Dave get into his presentation?
No, let him go. It sounds like you had the best time at the conference. What a great group of people, aren't they?
Yeah, honestly, it is a life-changing event. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Like I say, it's a bit of a come down when you have to come home and get back to reality. You know what I mean? Back to work.
Well, you're a bit of a superstar over there, Dave. Then you have to go back to work.
Yes, and then you have to go back to work. in winter as well. So I'm getting up at like 4:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? It's pitch black. It's freezing. So.
Well, it was a little cool in Denver, right?
Yes, it's like I say, on that Saturday it was like nearly freezing, not quite freezing, but weren't far off, and it weren't too bad. Like I say, you get nice clear skies out there, though. I did notice that there was a lot clear skies out there.
Beautiful skies there.
And I was actually a little bit ill when I got back, you know, for a couple of days. I wasn't 100%, but some reckon it could have been the altitude. You know what I mean? It didn't really affect me when I was there, the altitude, but when I actually got back, I did feel quite rough for a few days. Like I say,
it's quite high there, isn't it?
Well, they call it the Mile High City, don't they? So
right.
So right.
Did you feel like it? Did you notice it?
I didn't notice it when I was there, but like I said, when I got back, I did feel a little bit ill. But then again, you know what I mean? That traveling, when you come back on the Sunday afternoon and you get back on the Monday afternoon, it's a bit weird, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's you don't know where you are, kind of thing. I didn't know if it was Monday, Tuesday, or what. I didn't know what day it were, and I was back to work the following day as well. So
Oh, that's a
Wow.
bit mean. I think when
Yeah.
you've been on a long journey, you need a couple of days off, don't you?
Yeah, definitely, and I'll take that into consideration next time I'm traveling quite far.
How
Okay,
was the
then.
flight? How was the flight over?
The flight was good. Like I say, I went by Lufthansa Airways, with the German Airways, and you know what? They literally backwards and forwards all the way through the flight. You know what I mean? 2 meals, movies, and radio, or anything you want to listen to, and just constantly coming past with drinks, coffee, beers. Yeah, it was good. It was a good flight. Like I say, the plane was huge. It was one of them Boeing 747-400s. It was massive, you know, with the double deckers where you got the upstairs in them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was huge. I didn't think it was going to get the runway at first, like, because it like went back and then went. So yeah.
Was it a different kind of flight? Was it, or did it feel any different? Or did it sound exactly the same?
Like I say, you just know you're in a bigger plane. You know what I mean? Because like when I came from Germany, when I came from the UK to Germany on one of these smaller planes, they take off quite easy. But this thing, it was nearly full. You know what I mean? Nearly every seat was full, and it really looked like it struggled when it took off. It like leant back a bit for about 5 seconds before it actually lifted off. You know what I mean? So. But once you're up in the air, like, it was fine. And I don't know if you saw the video I put on Facebook, the chemtrails from 30,000 feet, where we was literally next to a plane flying next to us at 30,000 feet, and it was like chemtrailing. So I filmed it, like, and it was quite interesting because when you zoom in on it, yeah, there's no gap between the actual chemtrail and the actual plane. You know, like when you see them in the sky and you can usually see that gap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, there were no gap. It was literally pouring out the back end of it, and I zoomed right into it because it's literally opposite me. You know what I mean? Flying at the same speed. It was
So
quite.
you mean they know what they're doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. I gotta see that footage.
Yeah, if you click on my Facebook page, it's just called Chemtrails at 30,000 feet.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'll go and have a look at it later.
Maybe Karen will do a video.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a video. And Dave won't mind as long as I credit him.
Well, yes, it had some good feedback on Facebook. It's at 26,000 views up to now, so it's doing all right.
Oh wow!
Well done.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, people don't like chemtrails, do they?
No.
Well.
So, do you want to start then, Dave?
Yeah. Shall I try and share the application first? One thing I will say, if I remember last time I did a presentation, you won't get any sound from a couple of the clips. But what I'll do, I'll just talk over the clips and just explain what's going on. Is that all right?
Okay. I'll put it on Flat Earth Dude while you do it, just in case. So you're free to go now.
So I'm going to try and share the application first.
So it's Flat Earth Dude's nice little moon floating around there. Oh no, sorry, shining around with some birds. I love that icon.
Yeah, I like it too. I think I'll keep it.
It's yours, Flat Earth Dude.
Keep it for a while. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'll mute.
Hey, is that it, Dave? Yep.
Yeah, is it on screen? Is it? I've got it on my screen in front of me. What I did, I shared the application, so it shouldn't show the actual Hangout address.
Who's Brian? What?
Right. When I was putting this presentation together, I was just having a little look around, and I come across this on Twitter from Brian Cox. And it was just a little message from Brian Cox in regards to the conference. And he says, perhaps they could put this quote below: everyone attending this conference is a shitbox. So that's what Brian Cox thinks of flat Earth conferences. It was just a little bit of fun, like, to try and break the ice. But
thanks, Brian.
That's very grown up, right? Isn't it? Nice and grown up.
Yeah, but I did get my revenge on Brian Cox.
Did you? Did you, Dave?
Yes.
What was that then?
You probably can't hear the sound on this video, can you?
We can only see that picture.
Yeah. So basically, Brian Cox had just turned around and said there is absolutely no basis at all for thinking the Earth is flat. No one in human history, as far as he knows, believed the Earth was flat. Now, the problem is, every single ancient civilization in history believed or knew the earth was flat. Yeah, where you can look at the Norse, the Hebrews, the Mayans, the Incas,
The Native Americans.
yeah, the Navajo, you name it. Every single ancient cosmology depicts a flat earth. Yeah, I mean, does the Egyptian cosmology look like a spinning ball in outer space? I don't think so. You know what I mean? You've got the flat Earth at the bottom. You've got the firmament above it with the stars, and there you've got Nut, who actually swallows the sun and spits it out the other end, and the moon. So, as you can see, all ancient civilizations depicted a flat Earth, and I've mentioned this before, but the only people.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but we're still looking at the Brian box.
Are you?
Yeah.
All right, because I've changed 2 slides then.
Sorry, that's why I just wanted to check.
Is it not working then, is it?
Hang on, I'll just come off while you fiddle, just in case. But yeah, it's just showing the Brian Cox.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually on the 3rd slide now, so obviously that's not working, is it?
Well, not yet. We'll get it.
Maybe I could let me.
Oh, there you go. It's
now.
Is it?
There, yeah, it shows the ancient flat.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'll try and do then.
Newt, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Because it's when I went full screen. Let me just try it one more time. Is it working now? Yeah.
You can see a spinning ball in space, and you've got the Egyptians.
Is the next one working now? Or is it still on the spinning ball one?
Still on the spinning ball.
Yeah, it's not working in full screen. So what I might have to do, I might have to just do it like this. But I think I can make the window bigger. Let me just have a little look how to make this window bigger.
Minute, and I'll just put it on Flat Earth Dude.
Yeah. I'm not sure how to make this window actually bigger. So let me have a look. No, not like that. Well, maybe we can just do it like this for the time being. Yeah, can see that. You can see that one, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You might have to ignore the writing below because, like I say, it's. Let me try and pull that writing down and make that screen bigger. Ah, that's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. There you go. That's the best I can do. Yeah. So let me just go back because what I did, I showed that Brian Cox video there where he's actually saying no one in history believed the Earth was flat, and then I clicked on that slide there, just showing you ancient maps of flat Earth from different ancient cosmologies. You know what I mean? Which we mentioned a few: the Hebrews, the Incas, the Navajo. And then I mentioned, obviously, a spinning ball in space where Egyptian cosmology doesn't represent a spinning ball in outer space whatsoever. And one of the questions, what gets asked, whenever you see somebody on TV and they go, hey, Bill Nye, is the Earth flat or round? And they say something and he goes, it's round. And he says, back in ancient Greece, in Alexandria, when the sun was in a certain position and the light shone down a well, hundreds of miles away at Siam, there was a stick in the mud and it actually measured the Earth. And that's how we measured the Earth, which is an absolute load of nonsense. You know what I mean? Yeah. What do they use to pass the information from one point to the next? Carrier pigeons. You know what I mean? It's 2018, and when you ask a reputable scientist, yeah, proof of Earth's curvature or proof that we live on a globe, they refer back to ancient Greece. You know what I mean? It's 2018 now. For me, landing on the moon in 1969. What we should have in this day and age now is a 4K camera on the moon, fixed, looking at the Earth, rotating orbit. Yeah. But we don't have none of that. You know what I mean? It's nonsense. And I don't know if I've said this quote a few times. This is a famous quote from Nikola Tesla, where he says, today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation until they build a structure which has no relation to reality. What he's saying there is basically everything we get from scientists today is theory. There is no observations. Now, the only people I know today making real observations are flat earthers. Yeah. You know what I mean? You've got people like Ranty, who's always at the seashore making observations, shooting lighthouses from distances what shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? There's hundreds of people we could probably name, but there is only like flat earthers making observations, and one of the main tools for the flat earther is this beast, the Nikon Coolpix P1000, aka the Curve Buster, I call it. My friend Jennifer lives in Buffalo, New York, and on a regular basis, she goes to Lake Ontario and she shoots the Toronto skyline from 30 miles away. So I'm just going to play a little video clip now. There's no sound to this video, but what you'll see here, yeah, she's used the Mick West Metabunk calculator, which measures the alleged Earth curvature. Now, at a distance of 30 miles, you're looking at 516 feet of hidden curvature. That's based on a ball 24,901 miles in circumference. Now, also, what you have to take into consideration, what Mick West did, you see, because flat earthers were beating the old Earth calculator, he created this new Earth calculator, which actually calculates the standard refraction into it. Yeah, so it makes it harder, yeah, to disprove the globe model with his calculator. But Jennifer's observation actually beats Mick West's Metabunk calculator. So I'll just play it here. And as you can see, she's at the seashore. So this is 30 miles away from the Toronto skyline. What you'll see in the right-hand corner now are overlays. All I'm doing there is just showing that the temperatures are all within 4 degrees of each other from both locations. You see that little white building there, the Rogers Centre?
Mm-hmm.
That little white building there?
Yeah.
That should not be visible whatsoever. Yeah, but as you can see, on a clear day, you can't see it every day due to weather conditions. You know what I mean? There's ever-changing atmospheric conditions. But on a clear day, what you can see is that Rogers building. And just here, I'll just read this out. So the Toronto skyline at 30.84 miles away from Fort Niagara, New York, the Rogers Centre Dome is only 282 feet high. Lake Ontario is 243 feet. The base elevation of the Rogers Centre is 267 feet, making the total height of the Rogers Centre 306 feet above the lake. Jenna's elevation was approximately 6 feet, and that is being conservative because I'm sure Jenna's not sick. Her eyeballs don't stand at 6 feet tall, so you're probably talking 5'4" where the eyeballs sit. You know what I mean, or the actual observation point. So she's being quite conservative with 6 feet. So she's 6 feet above the lake. Alleged curvature should have been 516.85 feet of drop, according to that Mick West calculator. The Rogers Centre should not have been visible. And just like I said with them overlays, the temperature of Toronto, Fort Niagara, and Lake Ontario were all within 5 degrees of each other, and the humidity was quite, well, it's really low. You know what I mean? It's at 43%. Now, if you went there on another day and the humidity was 65%, are you going to see the Rogers Centre? No, you're not. You probably won't even see the Toronto skyline on certain days. Yeah. So the question is, like, there's only one reason why we would be able to see that from that distance, and that's if there's no measurable curvature. But what mainstream will tell you, I'm sure you've seen the Joshua Nowicki image of the Toronto skyline from, I think it was 46 miles away. And when Fox News got hold of that, they says, what you're seeing here is a superior mirage. Yeah. Now, I beg to differ, because if you look at this image here, what you'll see is, you see that bottle, you can see the red juice in it. Now, you can see the actual juice there. What you'll see is the light refraction actually bends the image down. So what you're actually seeing is an inferior mirage. Yeah, they're telling us that object is magically rising up from behind the curvature. I'm saying the refraction is mirroring that image down. So if you look at the next image,
it's probably the complete opposite of what they say.
exactly.
Anyway.
Now, well, like I say, if you look at this image, this is shot on a flat surface from a distance, and when you zoom in, what you do, you get that light refraction bending the image down, and then you'll notice the reflection bending down. You see, you can actually see it mirrored downwards. Yeah. So what we're saying is that when we're observing skylines or whatever lighthouses from a distance, yeah, we are seeing the light being bent down and not magically rising up from behind the curve. So I think that's a good observation, and I think Jenna did a cracking job by showing that the image is actually being mirrored downwards and not rising up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's a good example of that. Lake Pontchartrain, where you see the I don't know if some kind of telephone towers, but if you look at it, what it does, it looks like it's curving over the actual ocean. Now, what I've just showed there above is that mirror effect where the actual image is being mirrored downwards. I mean, if that was reality, yeah, we'd have to live on a kitchen roll holder. You know what I mean? Yeah, you've got a perfectly flat horizon, and then you've got the curve bending over. You know what I mean? It's an optical illusion due to light refraction bending the image
I've been
downwards.
somewhere where we've sort of filmed all that sort of illusion, because we went to the pyramid, and I've told you this before, where we'd actually walked around the pyramid. We'd gone back to the car park, because obviously, if you've never been there, maybe you wouldn't realise, but you go from the car park, you walk down, there's a fence, you climb over the fence, then you go into the field, and then you go to the pyramid. We got back to the car, and we looked, and the pyramid now was 4 times the size it was. You couldn't tell it was in the field. It looked like it'd taken up the whole field, was actually against the fence, which it wasn't. So further away, it was bigger.
Yeah, like I say, you do get what you call atmospheric lensing, where if there's a lot of moisture in the air, like I say, if that humidity level rises, then you will get atmospheric lensing. And I've filmed the exact same when I went to Cromer and tried shooting the offshore wind farms at Skegness. And when I zoomed in on the ones which were about 26 miles out, they look massive. You know what I mean? It looked massive in the picture. It should have been a tiny dot, even at that distance. You know what I mean? So what you see is you do get atmospheric lensing, and like I say, you have to have the conditions right to see further. You know what I mean? If you've got. I mean, I went out at my house yesterday, and you couldn't see a thing. It was foggy. You know what I mean? I could just about see the street light at the top of the road. So, but moving on, one thing that's always apparent is the horizon, which is always at your eye level. Yeah. So whether you're at Lake Pontchartrain looking out across there, or whether you're on the beach, there's my foot there where I'm lying on the beach in Fuerteventura. Yeah. Horizon is at eye level. You go to Mount Everest, the horizon is still at your eye level, or you go up to 120,000 feet. And again, the horizon or the horizontal eye zone is still at eye level. Now, on a ball, yeah, that shouldn't happen because it should actually roll away from you. But what you'll see is the horizon is always at eye level. And what I did, I actually went a step further than that. And I looked into the GoPro Awards where the SL-10 amateur rocket was sent up to, I do believe, 396,000 feet. Yeah. Now, that is like a world record for an amateur rocket. And what you'll see, even though it used a GoPro lens, yeah, when you get that horizon equidistance, you'll see it's perfectly straight. Only when the camera is bent downwards that you will get like a convex horizon. And when the camera is faced the opposite direction, you'll get a concave horizon. But like I say, when it's equidistance, it's a perfectly straight line. What you have to take into consideration for as well is that image is shot with a 180 degrees cam. That camera can see 180 degrees. So there's a lot of horizon there. You know what I mean? And all I did there was I took that line tool there up there, and I just put it from that point to that point, and it makes a perfect straight line.
Mm.
The only time we see curvature is when we see things like the Red Bull space jump with Felix Baumgartner. Yeah, as you can see there in the background, you've got a nice big curved earth on the top. Remember, it says when the camera is face down, you get that convex image. Notice the horizon line is not at eye level now; it's gone past your eye level. Only when it's at eye level and equidistant do you get your perfectly straight line on the horizon.
And also, it'd be pretty small, wouldn't it?
Exactly, yeah. I think they call it Felix Baumgartner does his space jump over planet New Mexico.
They just weren't expecting the people to wake up and realise, were they?
Yeah, but that don't make a difference because there was some footage of Neil deGrasse Tyson what's come to light recently, where he's actually talking about Felix Baumgartner's near space jump. I'm going to play it, but you probably won't hear the sound, but I'll just fill in the blanks. So he's talking about him filming Felix with a wide angle lens. So you can see the actual curvature of the Earth. Neil's saying, no, he's not in space.
Yeah, it's about a centimetre away.
Yeah. He says, Neil says, you do not see the curvature of the Earth when you're 2 millimeters above this beach ball. That stuff is flat. And that's from Neil deGrasse Tyson's own mouth. So whenever you're up against a globularis and they say, I've seen the curvature of the Earth from an airplane window. No, you haven't. You know what I mean? If you go up to nearly 400,000 feet, you still can't see no Earth curvature. So where does Earth start curving? You know what I mean? 400,000 feet is 70 miles up. Yeah, it's a long way up. So.
I know. Yeah, we all were asleep. Well, most of us were asleep for a long time. But when you've even, like, most of us got told or saw something about flat Earth, we even might have gone, no, I'm not going to look at that, and then we do, and then we've woken up.
Exactly. And then when you start looking at the nitty gritty and work and realize how fisheye lenses work, how they cause or create barrel lens distortion, you know what I mean? You can start seeing past the deception then, because that this is the kind of stuff they're doing. And on this here, this is from my old presentation, but I thought it's a good talking point, because when you Google images of Earth from space, this is what you get. All I did here was Google images of Earth, and I just took a little snapshot.
Well, I'll be honest, Dave, we had a debate a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Thrive and Survive was there, Robin lifting the lid, Conspiracy Cats was there, and we nearly got Crow XE, but he had to do something at the last moment. But when it came to make the picture, I could sort of do experiments and things on the picture for flat Earth. And on the one for the globe, it was like that. And most of the pictures are all they're just cartoon. Even the pictures.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, they don't even look like those. They're just cartoons.
Exactly. Like I say, and the best thing about it is NASA will actually admit that they're cartoons, but they'll call them composite images. You know what I mean? And I'm sure a majority of people know this guy is Rob Simon, aka Mr. Blue Marble. Yeah, he's the guy who creates the Earth for NASA, and I think it's Blue Marble 2.0. He created it, and he's actually been quoted in saying he takes a flat map basically and he wraps it around a ball. That's all it does. You know what I mean? So there is no images of Earth as such. The only image they claim is a photo, is the one from the Apollo missions. But if you've seen Bart Sibrel's A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, and you'll see that the footage, what he actually requested by the Freedom of Information Act, they sent him a tape, what they shouldn't have sent him, where it shows you Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong faking the Earth from space, where they basically use the actual round window on the craft in low Earth orbit, or even lower than low Earth orbit. And what they do, they pull the camera back and put a little cutout on the actual window to make it look like the Terminator line and look like the Earth, what they're viewing the Earth from a distance.
But they're still doing that now. I was just going through one of the videos that Joe had done. I'd mirrored, and I don't know, I think I was answering a question, and it came up, and I started looking, and I'm thinking, well, this one's been done the same. They've just filmed it out of a round window.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And this is the kind of deception they're using. But the problem is NASA's so poor. Like I say, they don't even try to hide some of the stuff. I'm sure Bling Bling. Well, I know she's been through thousands and thousands of NASA reels and NASA footage, and it doesn't take long to start seeing the consistencies. I've been through like quite a lot of ESA footage, and you know what I mean. It's all fake. It's all acting. It's all harnesses. It's all. I mean, they don't use the vomit comet as much as they used to do these days. But they're using the augmented virtual reality. Mike Helmick did an amazing video.
I think it's all virtual reality. I think that that they can. It went around Facebook a few months ago, a video where it's Michael Jackson talking, and then they can put Michael Jackson's voice onto anybody they want, President Trump, the whole lot, and then they're all talking the same as Michael Jackson, and you can make any one of them sound like anyone else. And it's all computerized. So I think that's what that thing is. I think most of that's computerized.
Well, like it is, and like I say, with augmented virtual reality, you know what I mean? They can basically edit stuff out on the fly. So when they're doing a live presentation, they can actually edit the stuff out as they're recording live. There may be a 15-second delay, you know what I mean? Whatever. But Mike Helmick did that brilliant video where he showed all the augmented virtual reality failures. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen the one where he's got the cap floating in 3D space, and he makes a hand gesture, and the other guy gets it and hangs the cap up, but it's still there floating in 3D space. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know what I mean. If they're going to fake it once, they'll fake it every time. So whatever is happening on the ISS, yeah, it is a load of BS. That is for sure.
Yeah, and as I always say when I think of Bling Bling, she wants her money back.
Yeah, like I say, I mean,
she wants her money back.
we're just as bad, we're paying for the UK Space Agency, which has got a budget of £388 million per year. That was in 2016. I'm not sure what the budget is now. And we also contribute to the European Space Agency, which has got a budget of €5 billion. So, you know what I mean? It's we might laugh at the Americans saying, haha, you're having to pay taxes for NASA, but we're doing the exact same year for ESA and the UK Space Agency. And what rockets have we launched? None.
None?
Yeah, exactly. None.
So basically we're paying for Tim Peake to go over there kind of thing.
Exactly. We pay for Tim Peake to get trained up as a super actor. You know what I mean? He didn't do a very good job first time he was on the ISS. I think they're sending him up again to try and pick up the pieces because he was atrocious on there. You know what I mean? If you saw his first somersault in space, a live press conference, it was embarrassing because he got halfway over and the harness went. So anyway, we'll move on.
Yes. As we could be here all night talking about NASA.
Yeah, of course we can. Yeah, you could do a full show on NASA. So
I've got about 30 or 40 videos on Sun and Moon we could play over and over.
Yeah, like I say, I've got a few videos about myself. I've got ISS Smoke and Mirrors, ISS Smoke and Mirrors Redux. I've got ESA Shenanigans and a few other videos. So, yeah. So, what are we told? So, we're told that we live on a globe and we're orbited by a single satellite, which we all know is the moon. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this. Before, I went into a lot of detail about phases and stuff like that. But all I was interested in for this was what you call the lunar anomaly. Now, I'm going to explain that because there is a bit of confusion about the anomaly because people say, hold on a minute, you're talking about the actual moon being at a distance. Now, if you look at this little moon here, where it's actually at its furthest point, and then it goes to its closest point, yeah, that is the lunar anomaly. Yeah. People say, well, doesn't that prove orbital mechanics in regards to Kepler's law of planetary motion? Because that's how an ellipse works, you see, an elliptical orbit. You know what I mean? It's the moon will travel around the Earth in an elliptical orbit, and there will be a closest point and a furthest point. Now, the fact of the matter is, yeah, the lunar anomaly was discovered in 2nd century BC by Hipparchus, who I mentioned before. He discovered the anomaly back then. So they knew over 2,200 whatever years ago, 2,500 years ago, yeah, that the moon, there was a there was an eccentricity to the moon cycle. So there is a furthest point and there is a closest point. Now, when you look at the moon in the sky, yeah, the only time the moon looks bigger is when it's on the horizon, when it's rising and setting. Yeah. So what I set out to do, I set out to test all the cycles related to the moon. Yeah, and there is a lot. So what I concentrated on in this presentation, because it was leading up to the lunar eclipse, what I'm going to look at in a minute, was this anomaly, what they call the anomaly. So basically, when the moon's at its furthest point, they call it apogee, and when it's at its closest point, they call it perigee. But just before we do go into that, I just wanted to put the record straight on a few things, because there's a lot of myths in regard to the moon. Yeah. So you've got a lot of people say, oh, I've seen stars through the moon. Yeah, people say you can see blue sky through the moon. Why is the moon red? There's a lot of questions. Yeah. So what I've done a little bit of research into this. Yeah. Some people will still say they've seen stars through the moon. Every single person I know, yeah, Ali Madge, Jenna Fredo, Ron Hagberg, myself, we're observing the moon on a regular basis. Yeah, I'm talking, you know what I mean? In 2017, I was out in the garden at least 5 nights a week observing the moon. And I have never, ever, ever seen a star through the moon. I've seen a star go behind the moon. I've actually filmed Aldebaran go behind the moon, and it doesn't pop out the other side until it's cleared the shadow part of the moon.
Those stars are in front of the moon.
Well, what you'll see,
there, aren't they? They're not very high.
Aldebaran goes behind the moon, and it doesn't come out until it passes the old disk of the moon. So even if it was an half moon, it wouldn't pop out in the Terminator shadow part. It won't pop out until it's cleared that. Yeah, the old disk of the moon is there, and I'll show you in a minute. Because if you do a long exposure shot of the moon, on a crescent moon, what you'll do, you'll light it up, yeah, and you'll see all the actual moon itself. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've seen like a little bit of a lit side, and then they light the other side up. In fact, I've got a photograph of it coming up in the presentation in a minute, so you'll get to see that. So, hello, Mr. Blue Sky. Yeah, there's a lot of people say they've seen stars through the moon, and they've also say they can see blue sky through the moon. Well, yes, you can see blue sky through the moon, which on this image you can clearly see it, but in reality, you can't see blue sky from the moon. Yeah, because you need to understand how light works. Now, the light spectrum, you get shortwave light, which is the ultraviolet scale of the light, and you get long wave, which is the infrared scale. Now, what happens on the ultraviolet scale is the light scatters easily, and that's what creates a blue sky. When light scatters, the shortwave light, what it'll do, it'll scatter and it will turn the sky blue. So in reality, for an analogy, if you want to think about the light spectrum, think about the sound spectrum. When I make a high-pitched noise, yeah, what'll happen? Your ears will vibrate quicker, yeah, which creates a high-pitched, which we hear a high-pitched sound. If I make a low rumble, your ears will vibrate slower, and you'll obviously hear a low rumble sound because the eardrums are vibrating slower. Now, there's sounds at either end of the scale. So there's sounds we don't hear, like high frequency sounds, and then there's like sounds at the other end of the scale, which is low frequency sound. Alligators make a certain sound which can't be detected by the ear, and bats make a high frequency pitch noise which can't be detected either. So think of light like the sound spectrum, you know what I mean, where the light waves will scatter easily, and when they scatter they turn blue, yeah, and the ones what will penetrate through thick denser atmosphere is the infrared scale. So that's why on this next image what you'll see is, notice these mountains from a distance, what I filmed in Fuerteventura, they're translucent. But do you really think if an object went behind the mountains, you'd see it? The answer is no. Yeah, then mountains are solid. But because the light is scattering due to Rayleigh scattering, it causes an optical illusion, and it looks like the mountains are actually see-through. But in reality, you get closer and closer to the mountains, the solid rock. Now, I'm not saying the moon's solid rock, but you get the same effect with the moon, yeah, where the light gets scattered and you can't see, and you can see blue sky through the moon. My good friend Jenniferado shot this picture of the moon here, and as you can see, it's a half moon. And if you look carefully, if you edit that picture slightly, what you'll see the whole moon. Yeah, the whole moon is actually there. Although it looks like you're looking at a half moon, in reality, the whole disk of the moon is always there. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, so I thought I was unmuted.
Sorry, I thought I was on my own then. I thought I'd do
no,
myself then.
I couldn't unmute quick enough. How come then, when you take pictures at night time, it looks like half the moon? It's almost weird. It's been sliced in half. How does that happen then if it's there?
Well, like I say, because if you get the right exposure, yeah, you will be able to light that other half of the moon up. It's just getting the right exposure. You know what I mean? It's difficult. Like I say, it does look like the moon's not there, but in reality, it's always there. And what? Let me just go down to this image. It'd be easy to show you this image. Oh, sugar.
Always got to be a bit of technical, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know what I did then. That's it. There you go. There's a good example. Yeah. You've got a crescent moon, but what I've done, I've overexposed it and I've lit up the dark side. See, normally you would only see the crescent moon in the sky. But what I did, I actually lit up the dark side by overexposing the moon, or doing a longer exposure of the moon, and it actually lights up the whole moon. So that's just to give you an idea that the whole disk of the moon is always there, and no, you can't see blue sky through the moon. And some will say they've seen stars through the moon. Every person I know has been observing the moon has never seen it.
Yes, I've heard you say that loads of times. Flat of Duke, what do you want to say something?
Oh no, I've got hundreds of pictures just like that I took, where you can see the whole moon, especially on the crescent waxing.
Yeah, this is a waning one. This was quite a rare shot. This one, yeah, this was like a day, like a couple. I think it was 2 days before a new moon, and I stepped out my door to go to work at 5 in the morning, and it was just there, bang, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm gonna get that." So
yeah,
took the opportunity. Well, you can see, sorry, 4:42 it were when I took the shot, so it was just before I went to work. Yeah, but like I say, it was.
Yeah, I mean. There are some days you don't even need to overexpose it. Just a normal picture will show it.
Yeah, it will do if you zoom further back, if you reduce focal length.
Right. Yeah. If you zoom in, man, yeah, it gets all black.
It's hard to do when you zoomed in. So you do have to like use a bit of exposure compensation to actually light it up. So just going on to the red moon. So one of the questions that I've been asked me, well, why is the moon red? Well, this is simply at the other end of that light spectrum, where you've got the short wave, what scatters. So what happens then is the longer waves of light, which are on the infrared scale, will penetrate the dense atmosphere, because as the moon sets, it will be setting against obviously a denser atmosphere. You know what I mean? The lower we are, the denser the atmosphere, and as you can see, that all that white light has been can't penetrate through that dense atmosphere to the observer, and what we see then is we just see the red come through. So that's why the moon is red. And there is a few questions asked about why does the total lunar eclipse moon turn red? Because in reality, it's being blocked, yeah, by something, or something's, you know what I mean? In the globe model, they're saying it's the Earth what's blocking it, but there is definitely something either going in front of that moon or going behind it. That is without a doubt, because the only reason why that moon would turn red is if something is blocking that light, blocking that white light from coming through. And just a quick look there at the actual the light scale. So you've got your ultraviolet at this end of the scale, and you've got your infrared that scale, and you've got all your colours: red, orange, yellow, green.
Remember my pictures of it? It's a chocolate chip cookie.
Yes, I remember that very well. And
cookie.
I've always liked this quote from Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, then think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So, as I mentioned before about the moon, what we are told, yeah. So I wanted to test the what you call the lunar anomaly or the anomalistic cycle. Yeah. So what I did, I set out to test it. So, like all my observations, what I use a compass and a compass app. I use Dioptra on Android, but you can use Theodolite on iOS. What I've done here, I've just opened up the app. It gives you an azimuth, a declination angle. It gives you a location and time. It gives you all the information that you need. You've got your tilt. Yeah. So all I did here was place it over the compass to see if it was accurate. Yeah. Because if I'm going to be making readings with a phone app, I still need it to be pretty accurate. You know what I mean? So as you can see there, I laid it over there and it's pretty accurate. Yeah, the compass pointing north and it's at -0. I don't know how to get -0, but it is pretty accurate, like I say. And I'll show that in a minute when I go through my observations. Right, you're just going to have to give me 2 seconds. I've just got to move my computer from one room to the next. So just give me 2 minutes.
Okay, I was just saying to the chat room that, well, I just took these pictures on my iPhone and they were I had to overexpose the colour just a little bit, and then the moon just showed up as a chocolate chip cookie. There's a light source there behind it, but it's a chocolate chip cookie, just like that biscuit there. That's what it looks like. I was a bit surprised because, you know, if you do take pictures with your iPhone, you know, this is ages ago I took this, but if you do, you either get it or you don't. And 9 times out of 10 at night, you don't get a good picture, but this time it just happened.
Yeah,
not like Mr. Marsh here, who's amazing with his camera.
Well, you know what? I still don't know everything about the camera because it's quite a long learning process to learn.
It's an art, Dave.
Yeah. What I do, I just
here, Dave. There's just so many settings.
Yeah, I never even read the instructions. I just got it out of the box and just fiddle about with it, you know, until I get the right setting. And like to shoot things like Venus in phase, or to shoot Saturn's rings, you have to really start fiddling around with the settings, because you need to control the aperture as well. So what I use shutter priority setting for when I'm shooting Venus like that, so that I can actually control the actual light coming in, you know what I mean, and what I have to need to do is reduce the light because Venus is so bright. I don't know if you've been seeing Venus in the morning, but it's super bright in the morning.
Yeah, people have been saying that actually. I've seen that a few times, people commenting about that.
Yeah, it was extra super bright the other morning because what people didn't realize is there was another star exactly next to Venus. If you zoomed in on Stellarium, you could see it was literally side by side with it. It was quite interesting. So
I always find that really strange when you look up and you think, oh, there's a star with the moon. And then it might be there for a day, 3 days. Oh, it's gone again.
Right. I'm just wondering how I went full screen earlier on, because it would have been better to go full screen, but I can't remember how I did it. I wonder if I just double click it. Nope. Right, I'll leave it like that because I don't want to mess with it. So what I did then, I wanted to measure the anomaly or the anomalistic cycle. So there is a couple of ways you can do this. firstly, you need to find out when the moon is at apogee and perigee. Now, there's loads of ways you can find out about that. You can either go online to Time and Date, Mooncalc, or any moon calculator software, and they'll tell you where the apparent point is. Remember, in the globe model, they'll tell you that when the moon's at its furthest point, it's like 250,000 miles away, and when it's at its closest point, it's something like 220,000 miles away. So you know what I mean. These figures are absolute nonsense. There has never been a true measurement of the celestial bodies ever. Yeah. Now, I had a lot of questions asked in regards to how I measured the speed of the moon in my previous moon race presentation. Yeah, what I did, like I've mentioned before, I measured the meridian passing. So when the moon occupied one spot, I timed that gap in between it to occupy that same spot the following night and use that as a time frame reference. Now people say that you can't measure the speed of the moon like that, but this is an interesting story because you know I'm sure you've heard of the astronomer Halley, who's responsible for Halley's Comet. The comet's actually named after him. Well, he actually measured the distance to Mars a few hundred years ago, and how we measured that, how we measured the distance to Mars is mind-boggling, because what he did, yeah, the only way you can measure something a distance is by using triangulation. Now, he used triangulation, but he only used himself. Yeah, he didn't use two reference points. So what he did, he took a reading of Mars when it was in the western sky. Then he presumed that the Earth rotated for 12 hours until Mars was in the eastern sky. Yeah. And he made a triangulation from his point. He triangulated it from them 2 points. Now, that's presuming that the Earth's rotating. Now, there's never been no proof that the Earth rotates. You know what I mean? So people again say, oh, you can't measure the speed of the moon like that. But science and textbooks are teaching us that they're doing triangulations by using a baseline of 12,000 miles, presuming the Earth rotated off a orbit. You know what I mean? So when you look back some of these proofs in astronomy, they really are they're laughable. But anyway, I'll move on because I'm rabbiting a little bit. So what you need to do, basically, you need to find out when the moon is at its furthest point at apogee or closest point at apogee. Now, on my first observation on the 23rd of August this year, the moon was at apogee. So what I did, like I always do with all my observations, I always make my observations when the moon is at my zenith. Now, zenith is when the moon is at its closest point. So between rising and setting, it's that point smack bang in the middle. Now, my zenith and everybody's zenith in the northern hemisphere will always be 180 degrees south for every observer. So everybody in the northern hemisphere, their zenith point will be 180 degrees, and everybody in the southern hemisphere, theirs will be 0 facing north. Yeah. So what I did on the night of the 23rd of August, I took a diopter reading. Yeah, as you can see, I always catch the moon at 180 degrees. That's to try and keep my observations consistent. Because, like I say, if you're going to measure the moon, if you measured it when it's rising, then at apogee, then you measured it when it was at zenith, when it was at perigee, you're not going to get a consistency. So if I do it at 180 degrees south, which is my zenith, the moon's closest spot, I'm going to get a more accurate reading. So as you can see there, on that night, the moon was at south. It was 182 degrees, and it was quite low on the horizon. It was only I think it's about 9 degrees. There was a little bit of a discrepancy between my reading and Mooncalc's reading, which I'll show you in a minute, but I think there's about 3 degrees in it. So as you can see there, I don't know if you can see that there, but according to Mooncalc, yeah, the moon direction was 179 degrees and the altitude was 16 according to theirs. So I was like 70 degrees out. But yeah, I've mentioned this before. If you don't calibrate the app properly, yeah, or you're standing near something metal, yeah, you will actually get a bit of a off reading. But it's in
bad though, isn't it? If you stand near something, it's going to change the reading.
Yeah, it's relatively in the right direction though. As you can see, 182 degrees there, 179. All I'm doing now is just making sure that the observations I'm making and match up. And yes, I am using mainstream, but as you can see, it's only for the direction and the actual angle of the moon. What I do then, I just compare it with what NASA's telling us. So NASA are telling us that yes, the moon is at apogee, and as you can see, we're in the exact same phase there. So the moon is at apogee then. So what I did then, I used a measuring tool to actually measure the moon in pixels. So as you can see there, I don't know if you can see that with on your screen, but the moon measured 227.56 pixels. Yeah, so just keep that in mind because that was the first reading when the moon was at apogee, and apogee is the moon's furthest point. So then on the 27th of October, I waited till the moon was at its closest point at perigee, and I repeated the observations again. Same again. I waited till the moon was at my zenith, which is 180 degrees. It's just a fraction before there, but it's not too far off. So you can see now when the moon's closer, it is actually high on the Tropic of Cancer at this point. That does change, and I'll go into that in a little bit. So if I compare that with Mooncalc, there you'll see the reading's 179.77 and an altitude of 53 degrees. So it's pretty close, that, you know what I mean? My observations are pretty close to what mainstream is telling us the direction of the moon. Again, just compare them phases at NASA. As you can see, it's the exact same phase. So just keep in mind, when we measured the moon first time, it was 227 pixels. So when we measure it perigee, guess what? It's 248 pixels. So it's grown significantly. And if you put them side by side, you can just about see with the naked eye that the moon on the right is slightly bigger. So there is actually a point where the moon is closer and does appear bigger, and when it's further away, and it does appear smaller. Now, what I did forget to mention is I'm using the exact same focal point on the camera. So I've got the Nikon Coolpix B700, which has got a 60 times zoom. So the maximum focal point on that for optical is 1440 millimeter, equivalent to a 35 millimeter camera. Yeah, so I always make the same observations at the same focal length, which is 1440 millimeter. The P900 shoots at 2000 millimeter, so I'm sure people who've got that, they know it. When you're on the moon setting and you click the 2000 millimeter, and it goes to its optical zoom there. So what I've shown here is that there is an anomaly, and it can be measured. But like all observations, you know what I mean, I like to repeat it to make sure it's not a one-off, because you never know, do you? So what I did again, I set out in September, this time when the moon was at apogee on the 20th September. Go through the exact same process again, same focal length on the camera. The moon is at my zenith, 180 degrees. Compare that with what mainstream's telling us. You can see again, the moon is at apogee. One thing I did forget to mention, I actually made this observation when I was in Fuerteventura. Yeah, that's not the UK there, by the way. That's actually Fuerteventura. So I took the opportunity to actually shoot the moon at apogee when I was in a different country. You know what I mean? To see if I got some different results, which is always good to do. You know what I mean? To have from different locations.
Yeah, you were telling us before that you use apps anyway because all the information is coming from a flat plane, and that's what they're using in the first place.
Exactly. So as you can see again, according to NASA's globe model, the moon is at apogee again, so it's at its furthest point. So when I measured the moon again, as you can see, 228 pixels. So it's actually smaller again. So every observation I'm making is actually matching up. You know what I mean? So there is an anomaly, whether we like it or not. Yeah. And then again, my last observation, which was only like 2 weeks back on the 25th of November. Yeah, the moon was at perigee, at its closest point. So I took the opportunity to capture the moon again, just to complete the 4-part observation. And there you can see 180 degrees, my zenith, high in the sky again at 56.7 degrees. So it's quite high in the sky. Again, what I'm doing, I'm checking with mooncalc to see if my observations are accurate, because it'd be a bit daft if I got a reading of 180 degrees and I looked on mooncalc and it said it was 270 degrees west, then there would be questions asked. So let's look on NASA's model. As you can see, the moon is at its closest point at perigee now. And if you look at the measurement there, it's now 250 pixels. So there is a significant change in size. So on the left, you got the moon at apogee, and on the right, you got the moon at perigee. So there is quite a big difference. And what I've got here, I've just got a little animation just to show you them differences. So there you can see the moon at apogee. There you'll see the change in size at perigee, slightly bigger. Then again at apogee, the one from Fuerteventura. So even when you're actually getting closer to the moon, it's still appearing smaller. So, and there's the last one I recorded in November. And just to keep in mind, all of them were shot using the Nikon Coolpix B700 at the exact same focal length, which is 1440 millimeters, which is equivalent in 35 millimeters. You're probably wondering why I measured all that, don't you? Because what I'm doing, I'm testing all the cycles related to the moon. Yeah. Now the first one on my list was the anomalistic cycle, which is 27.554 days, yeah, to complete a cycle. I've mentioned the moon cycle before, yeah, because there is quite a lot of cycles, and this is not even half of them. There's a lot more cycles related to the moon, and to try and get your head around them all is very, very mind-boggling. So the anomalistic cycle takes 27.55 days to complete a cycle. The sidereal, yeah, which is the point it takes the moon to pass through all the constellations and get back to the same point again, is 27.3 days. The tropical cycle is a point it takes the moon to get from one point on the celestial equator to pass through to the Tropic of Capricorn, back to the Tropic of Cancer, and get back to that same point on the equator again. That's 27.32 days. The draconic...
Dave, just look who's joined.
I can't see. Sorry,
It's the Thrive and Survive.
Hey.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Dave. How are you, buddy?
How you doing, pal? You all right?
Good. Keep going, buddy.
Yeah, like I say, I was just looking at the lunar cycles and trying to get your head around all these cycles is quite mind-boggling. Then you've got the draconic cycle. Now, this is also known as a nautical cycle, which is basically related to eclipses. When you get a lunar and solar eclipses, there are points within that cycle, yeah, called nodes, which are actually where the moon will line up to be eclipsed. And basically, the draconic cycle is the point it takes to get from one node and back to that same node again, and that cycle is 27.2 days. And the last one, which is on this one, is a synodic cycle, which is actually the phases. So the time it takes the moon to go from new moon to new moon takes 29.5 days. Now, trying to get your head around just them few cycles, if you're trying to think about the moon, you know what I mean, it's quite mind-boggling. But interestingly, the anomalistic cycle is the perfect clock. Plus, I think I'm going to need my calculator for this. Let me just get my calculator up so I can work it out. So the average day, if you include the leap year, is 360. Sorry, the days per year is 365.24. Yeah, if you times that by 4, which is included the leap year, you get 1,460 days. Yeah, so just keep that number in your mind, 1,460 days. Now, if you take the anomalistic cycle, which is 27.55 days, yeah, now you get 13 of these in a year. Yeah, so 2 years would be 26, 4 would be 52, but you have to count the leap year as well, so you'd have 53. So if you take 27.55 and you times that by 53, you get 1,460 days exactly. You get the exact same days. Yeah, so the lunar anomalistic cycle is the perfect clock over 4 years. It fits in to the Gregorian calendar, or the solar calendar, what we use today. Yeah, but in reality, you could use the anomalistic cycle as the perfect clock, which is quite interesting. And so if you think about the dates of the points of apogee and perigee, they literally fall on the exact same day every 4 years. Yeah, so if it fell on the 20th of say on the 25th of November, yeah, in 4 years time, guess what, the moon will be at perigee on the same day in 4 years time. And what it does, it changes every 2 years. So every point at perigee, 2 years time, switches around, and that point is then becomes apogee. Yeah, they don't fall exactly on the same day, but they're close. But then you have to take into consideration them days at apogee then fall into that 4 year cycle as well, and it continues. So the best measuring tool for me, like if you wanted a really super accurate calendar, would be by measuring the anomalistic cycle.
Right.
It is quite a lot to get your head around that, and I hope you come across. I explained it quite clear. So basically, the lunar anomaly fits into the 4 year calendar exactly. Yeah, you got 1,460 days for 4 years, and same with the actual cycle when you times it by the amount. So
I remember when, of course, it was a while ago, and you were talking to someone else, but you were all realizing that there was 13 cycles, not 12.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, all this is leading up to one thing, because on the recent eclipse we had back in July, yeah, something really amazing. Well, I think something really amazing happened. Yeah, because what happened is we didn't only have the lunar eclipse. For a lunar eclipse to make, the draconic cycle has to be aligned. Now we know that a lunar eclipse only takes place on a full moon, so the synodic cycle had to be aligned as well with a full moon. The moon was also at the furthest point on the Tropic of Capricorn, so that tropical cycle aligned with the other cycles as well. Yeah, and not only that, yeah, the moon was at its furthest point in the anomalistic cycle apogee. So every single one of them cycles had to align up. Yeah, and what we got one of the longest eclipses in history. You know, I mean, in our history, I'm sure there'll be a lot longer ones previously and in the future. But one thing to keep in mind: the only time you're ever going to see a full 100% full moon is during a lunar eclipse. Now, what you'll see is the moon is completely 100% full. I'll give you an example. Yeah, this is a 99.9% moon. Now, you can see it's 100% around that side, but as you start getting near the top, you can just start seeing it's not actually quite 100% full. So the only time you can actually observe a perfectly 100% moon is during a lunar eclipse. Now, on the night of that eclipse, something interesting happened, and when I looked at the actual numbers, I couldn't get my head around it, and I'm sure mainstream, I've got an answer for it, but I haven't found that answer yet. And believe me, I've been looking and I've been asking the question. So I call it a lunar standstill. So on the 27th of July, when the eclipse actually started, although the moon wasn't visible from my observation point there, yeah, if you look down here close at this full moon, it's at 100%. So that was at 3:45 in the afternoon. Now, almost 12 hours later, yeah, at 3:01 on the 28th of July, the moon is still at 100% full. Yeah. Now, for the moon, don't forget, moon calc uses a decimal point as well. So, you know what I mean? We're talking decimals here as well. So it's remained full, yeah, at 100.0% for 11 hours, 46 minutes. We have to take into consideration that the moon shifts 13 degrees a day. Now, how can that moon stay full at 100% when it's shifting 13 degrees every single day? It doesn't have days off for lunar eclipses and thingy, but I call it a lunar standstill, but that is impossible in the globe model. Yeah, when it's in constant motion, it would be impossible. So people say yes, but it's lined up 180 degrees perfectly. Even so, it's still moving 13 degrees a day, every day. You know what I mean? So to me, that's like a big hole in the heliocentric model. And luckily, in January, on January the 21st, we've got another total lunar eclipse. Same again. All them cycles will all be aligned again, but the only difference this time is, instead of the moon being at apogee, the moon's at perigee for this cycle. Yeah, to the exact day it's at perigee. I don't know if I've...
Yeah, Super Lead says, tell him to stop. He's hurting. My head's going to explode. A lot of information to take in if you haven't understood what you're doing.
Yes, it's difficult. Like I say, my presentation skills aren't brilliant. You know what I mean? I know the stuff in my head, but to try and present it is another thing. And I try and explain it as easy as I can. You know what I mean? I don't want to try and belittle any people or anything like that. But you know what I mean? The stuff we're looking at now, you know, we need to look at this kind of information to find them other pieces of the puzzles. You know what I mean? We have to eliminate certain things. People say, oh, there isn't a normalistic cycle. Actually, there is, because it can be measured and it can be repeated. You know what I mean? Just on the back of that, what I wanted to mention is that I've been asked if the Earth is flat and the sun and moon is close, well, how come the moon doesn't shrink when it goes away from you? Actually, it does shrink, and I've measured it on 2 occasions now. I measured it once myself, yeah, and what I found is, using that measuring tool, although the moon looks massive on the horizon, at the exact same focal point, from when it's on the horizon to when it's in the air, it's actually smaller on the horizon than it is when it's at zenith. Now, Jenna Fredo repeated this exact same experiment with a near full moon, and although her moon looked absolutely massive against the backdrop, it measured smaller again. So this is, like I say, all this information is, you know what I mean? You can either take the information what it is, or you can deny it and just carry on doing what you're doing. But all this information we're putting out there is for other people to share and just to try and, like I mentioned before, just to try one piece of that puzzle. You know, try and find one piece of that puzzle. That's all I'm trying to do.
You're doing a very good job there, Dave. We much appreciate all that you do. It takes hours of your time. But I was just wondering, Rich, do you want to say anything?
No, not really. I'm waiting for him to get to the point of the presentation I haven't seen yet, because I think he added some stuff towards the end.
Did you see it earlier on? Because I added a little bit of stuff earlier on because I only had 3 observations up at the time. So basically, this bit now at the end is just when I ask, well, what is the moon? You know what I mean? Because there is a lot of questions being asked. What is the moon? You know what I mean? It's there just about every night, apart from a few nights every month. Yeah, but we still don't even know what it's there for or what it does.
Dave, can I just say something about that? The other day, I was out in the car and I noticed that the moon was really south, but I couldn't see it from my house. I had to drive a few miles away, and then I thought, oh, there's the moon. So I'm thinking that the moon never disappears. It's actually always there. But as it's quite local, if it might be 7 or 8 miles away and you just can't see it in your skyline, but it'll be there for someone else. Like I told you, I drove from work. I had to drive 7 miles to see it. Yeah, if I had to drive that far, how could someone in London or Birmingham see that moon if I had to drive that far? So I'm just wondering whether the moon is always there. It's just not in your skyline. It might be 8 or 10 miles away and you think, oh, where's the moon? It's there. It's just in another part of the sky.
Yeah. So sometimes the moon looks like a light. That's just like a slightly overexposed image of the moon. Sometimes the moon looks like a rock. You know what I mean? I'm sure when you get close into it, you think, wow, look at all them craters. You know what I mean? They just look like rocks or that. On the odd occasion, it even looks like a sphere. I mean, I've looked. I think this was the strawberry moon from 2016, and I thought to myself, it looks a bit spherical, that. But then when you look at another full moon, it doesn't look spherical. It looks more like a disc. You know what I mean? So the moon is so many things. Is it a projection that you can see an overexposed image of the moon? What it does, it creates a lens reflection and creates an image of the moon. That light has created that image. I know that a lot of people have actually even thought the moon's a hologram. Yeah, there you go. An overexposed moon again. What it does, creates a holographic image of the moon. So the moon, you know what I mean? It's a lot of things. And actually the word lunatic is derived from the word lunar. So which is quite interesting. I'm sure you've heard like how people how crime rate sometimes has been increased during a lunar eclipse, or people have reported feeling different. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things related to the moon. It's not just in the sky. There is something else. Yeah, there's something supernatural going on there, I believe. And even the word month is derived from the word moon. You know what I mean? So they're telling you then that the moon is a perfect calendar, really. And I really have to actually show you the actual figures on screen. I will do that eventually, but I haven't actually got around to doing that yet. But when I do, you'll understand the lunar anomaly is the perfect clock. Yeah. Or if we knew how to measure it like properly, we could actually use that as a perfect calendar, and you wouldn't even like I said, probably even need that leap year. So like I say, what is the moon? Yeah, we just don't know. It's been there for a millennia. We could observe it for another 1,000 years and still be none the wiser. But like I've said before, one thing I'm sure it's not, and it's not that. I've showed this before, but they claim this was a real photograph, and the moon just happened to be passing by Earth from the Discover Epic satellite, which is supposed to be 1 million miles out, which is
miles.
Yeah, absolute nonsense. And that's it. It's a shame I couldn't go full screen with it. It's still the Hangouts are still not 100% working yet, is it? It's a shame that. Did it look all right on the screen though?
It did. We can see it all. It comes up a bit bigger anyway, because obviously it just does because you're presented and stuff.
Yeah, like I say, there is quite a lot of stuff from my older presentation there, which I will be changing, because you know what I mean. It's when you're making your own observations, you do make some mistakes, and I'll be the first to hold my hand up when I make a mistake. And
You need to tell Rich, don't you? You need every app you can find, 6 cameras to film some observation. Okay, Rich, are you ready?
I just want to explain.
I have the equipment.
The mistake I made was when I measured the moon here, and it actually measured smaller when it was high on the Tropic of Cancer, when it was actually closer to perigee. Now, I mentioned there that just have a helio confirmation that the moon would appear bigger, and that's the mistake I made. Yeah, and that's on my part. You know what I mean? I'll put my hands up and say, you know what, I got it wrong, and that's why I've actually gone back and actually measured the lunar anomaly. Yeah, to set my record straight, and you know what I mean, to say, you know what, Dave, you got it wrong this time. Yeah, put your hands up, but that will be deleted out of the presentation, and obviously I'll be moving on. But like I say, we can't get it right every time, and I got it wrong because I didn't check the focal length on the camera. Now I check the focal length on the camera. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm learning as I go, like I mentioned before. Yeah, back then I thought I had it set at a certain setting, but what one was set at 0.2 zoom and the other one was at 0.4 zoom. So it did actually appear, the other ones were at 0.4 and that one was 0.2, and it did appear actually smaller. And I thought, wow, you know what I mean? It should have been bigger at that point, but I made a mistake and I put my hands up to it. So,
hey Dave, you know that you've collected all those books. Maybe you'll have to write one, and you can add your book to your collection.
Yeah, I've got a couple of new books actually, a couple of recommendations. Yeah, I've got the translation and study of a heliocentric survey of astronomy. I got it recommended from a guy when I was at the conference. He says you want to look at that because there's some techniques what the ancient astronomers use, like, you know, to make observations, like which can be repeated. So, like I say, it'd be good to like try a few of them out. I actually got to read it yet, but I will do. But it looks like it's a good book, so I'll be checking that one out.
What would you call your book, Dave?
I don't know. I don't think I have the patience to write a book, to tell you the truth. It takes me like 2 days to write a Facebook post, so I don't think I'll be that good at writing a book, to tell you the truth. I'll let somebody else write a book. I'll just like I enjoy doing what I do. You know what I mean? So can I stop sharing now?
Yeah, sure. I'll just put it on that FD for a second, just in case. But yeah, sure. So, is there anything you wanted to say this time, Rich?
I wanted to say, ask Dave, now that I think I wrote you and told you what equipment I have access to now.
Yeah, you got B700 and P900, yeah.
Yeah, and I have, and somebody gave me an infrared filter, and also I'm connected to a guy that lives very close to me. He's got a P900. He converted it to infrared, and he's got a P1000. And he's got an equatorial drive unit, which I hope to get at some point too, once I get the money. So my question is, what kind of observations do you think maybe we could combine and do with? I haven't checked to see how far we are away from each other as far as longitude, but I bet you we're pretty far.
Yeah, interestingly, because what I wanted to do was actually try some of the triangulation techniques what they used in ancient astronomy. Now, the best way of doing it really is on the same longitude, but you could possibly do it on the same latitude. I mean, the longer your baseline, the more accurate your reading is going to be when you triangulate it. So maybe when you get set up, we could do some triangulation, or we could, like I say, it's I'm sure there's loads of things you can do. What I would say is, though, if you've got an infrared lens, you would need to get your camera chipped and have that infrared blocking chip removed out of it as well.
Can I just say you're still sharing, Dave, and it's black. Your screen's black.
Is it?
I'll put it on Rich for a second, just in case. It's on you now, Rich.
Yeah, let me try and...
So what are you saying, Dave, that the infrared filter won't work unless you do something with that chip?
You will need to yeah. I've got the R72 infrared filter, and it won't work with the camera unless it's chipped. Yeah, you need what they've got. They've got an infrared blocking chip, well, a full spectrum blocking chip, yeah, which only shows the visible light spectrum. So we have to send it away. I think it's about $150, maybe $100. And what they do, they take that chip out, and then you've got a full spectrum camera. But to use that camera normally, you will have to put a lens on it for everything you shoot. Yeah, you can't just bang an infrared lens on it, because I did that. Yeah, I bought an infrared lens. It was like 40 quid as well, and it doesn't work because the camera only shows the visible light spectrum.
Are you talking about for both the B700 and the P900, or just one?
Both cameras. Yeah.
Okay.
Nearly every camera you buy. That's why that bloke has had to get it converted. Yeah, for the full light spectrum, and then he can put the infrared sensor on, and then he can obviously see the infrared spectrum. Other than that, you only see the visible light spectrum in cameras. If you can actually buy cameras like that, because they sell these ghost cameras now. You know, these cameras for ghost hunting.
Right.
And they've actually got the chip removed, so you can actually see the obviously invisible light spectrum, the ultraviolet, infrared. So there is cameras out there, and that guy who's been doing the long distance photography from the airplanes, I don't know what camcorder he's got. I think he's got either a Sony or a Panasonic, and which is got like a night mode on it. And what he does, he flicks it onto that night mode, and he puts the infrared sensor on the night mode, and then he gets the same effect, like the same infrared effect. But you'll just get an horrible blurry mess when you put the filter on the camera. I took a few shots actually. You can see a little bit of the infrared, but obviously with that chip in there, it stops you seeing the full light spectrum, or the invisible light spectrum.
Gotcha. How convenient.
Yeah, like I say, it's you think they just make the camera so you can have it for full spectrum, wouldn't you? Then you can just have the interchangeable lenses on it, like, you know what I mean? Because it's only a little screw on cap you put on, and you just pop the lens on it, like, yeah. Like I say, I've got the R72 infrared one, but I'm not getting it chipped until I found a place in the UK what chips the cameras anyway, so which is good. Yeah, if you want me to send you a link to the site in America, because when I was looking, I come across the American one. But you basically have to send the camera away. You know what I mean? And it'll probably be away for like a few weeks. But if you've got two cameras,
yeah, I appreciate that.
Have you had a play with the cameras yet? Then, or
very little. I keep going to where I take Charlie to the dog park, and I keep running into people I know, and they want to talk to me, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just can't seem to get out there and really dig into it. What I need to do is I need to go someplace where people don't know me and play around.
Yeah, I recommend a good tripod as well. Definitely.
Yeah, I've got I just got a good tripod. I got that actually for when I eventually get the equatorial mount put on there.
Yeah, that would be brilliant for shooting. Like I say, we've got that up and coming Eclipse, and I was actually thinking about getting one of them or a new camera. I was looking at the new Canon SX70 camera, which is replace the SX60, which is like supposed to be it was a really good camera. But the good thing about the new the Canon PowerShot camera is, even though it's only 65 times zoom, yeah, normally you only get ×2 digital zoom. So for example, mine's ×60, so I get 120 at ×2 digital. Theirs goes to ×4 digital, so you get like 260 times zoom. Yeah, and with it being 20 megapixel as well, it still keeps the resolution, so you don't lose a lot of resolution as well. So
yeah,
it's a little bit expensive, so I might wait. But I have heard on the grapevine that Nikon are replacing the B700 in February, so I'm just going to hang on till then and see what happens. Because
now, do you know if what is that, January 20th? I think the eclipse is for the moon.
January the 21st, yeah.
21st. Okay, is that visible in both North America and the UK?
Yes, it is. Yeah, you'll see it better than me because you'll see it set against a dark sky where I'll be seeing it from 5 a.m. in the morning through till like 7. You know what I mean? But with the moon being really high on the Tropic of Cancer, it's going to be visible right through till like 11 a.m. for me. But yeah, I will see the full eclipse, and you will as well. So
it'll be interesting to see if we can film it and find that the shadow comes at the same angle or not.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, like I said, there's I know that Jennifer will be making similar observations as well. So weather permitting, you know what I mean? It's otherwise I may be on suicide watch because I spent about 6 hours and about 60 miles traveling around Derbyshire and Yorkshire during the last one. And my good friend Steve Myring come all the way from Liverpool to drive me around. I'm saying, look, I can see a little bit of patch in the sky there. There's a clear sky. Follow it. Yeah, we get there. It's chucking it down with rain. So it was quite disappointing not to shoot the last one, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, Dave, no clouds. It'd be perfect then, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm actually thinking about going to Fuerteventura.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to shoot it.
Going to where?
Fuerteventura in the Canary Islands, where I went to last time. You got clear skies every day. There's never a cloud in the sky. I mean, I'm not. The likelihood is I've got more chance of catching the eclipse there than I would in the UK, because where I live, especially in the East Midlands, where all the rain gets dropped on the Pennines and all that, and around this area, it's the likelihood is it will be cloudy around here. You know what I mean? It's like I say, I saw the moon twice last month. Literally saw the moon twice. It's just been overcast.
It's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Also, just hats off to every cameraman, because I really think those P900s and that. I mean, maybe some people get it just like that. I think it's a work of art with one of those cameras.
Yeah, like I don't use the camera like a photographer uses it. You know what I mean? I've just adapted to using it the way I need to use it. You know, when I tried to take a photograph without the tripod, and I'm useless with it. You know, just try and take a normal photograph. I'm absolutely useless because I've only used it on the tripod and I've only used it to shoot the sky. Yeah, that's all I can do with it. I went to see Michael Tellinger in Manchester, tried to take a few shots, and they're very, very poor, to say the least. So yeah, you know, I've got no steady hand to press the button, the camera's tilted sideways and all sorts. So yeah, I'm like I say, I'm okay when it's on the tripod, and I know what settings to shoot to, like Venus and stuff like that. But if you want to know any settings, because it's really difficult to focus with a P900 and the B700 on, you know, like if you want to see Venus in its phase, or you want to see Saturn's rings, or whatever, you have to get the settings absolutely spot on. So,
yeah, and I have no clue what those are.
Yeah, like I say, I use shutter priority for shooting Saturn and Jupiter and Venus and that. So
yeah, they're not point and fire cameras, and you know.
Well, you can. I mean, if you put it in the moon setting and you shoot the moon, you'll get a brilliant picture of the moon every time. You know what I mean? It does a brilliant setting on the moon, on the actual moon setting on the camera. But your problem is you can't use manual focus on the moon setting. So
I was just saying, because obviously Robert Forsh comes on a lot and he shows us lots of his videos, and I suppose everybody just watches them. But again, he's really good with his camera, isn't he? He's just really good, and you're really good, and you know. But it takes a lot. I think you know. You need. I think to come to terms with the camera properly, I need lessons.
yeah, like I say, they do call them point and click cameras. You can literally put them. You can literally put them in auto, point and click, and yeah. But it's like I say, when you want to get out to the nitty gritty and you want to shoot like Venus in a phase, you're not going to be able to do it with autofocus. It's just too bright. You know what I mean? You need to control the aperture and the exposure, otherwise you just get a white blob.
Yeah, and I can tell you firsthand, Robert Force was good with that camera, point and click too. He was telescoping in people on the stage from far away, and I know he had brilliant pictures.
Yeah. He was. Every time I saw him, he was doing an interview at the conference. Yeah, he was busy.
He's upside down at the moment. Have you noticed? And he was really happy. I took that one and said, you know, Australia is not upside down. He's filming everything upside down at the moment just to make a point.
Yeah, I think he got banned off Facebook a few weeks back, didn't he?
Yeah, because he likes to share it with everyone. Can I just say something, Dave? You know, I know what you're like. I know that you'll probably put this, like, you know, what you're doing in some kind of graph. Do you think it will give the same thing again, like a heartbeat wave?
I don't know, but it's funny because well, you have to when I measured the moon before, what I measured the moon on the tropics and the equator. Yeah, if I were going to measure the anomaly, I need to measure it at its closest point, its furthest point, then work out equidistance. What's that point in between there? You know what I mean? So I could have three reference points. I'd have to do that throughout a full year, put it into a graph and see what I get. I don't know because until I do it, I would imagine you probably get a similar kind of results. But I think, but what I would think is because the anomaly changes around every 2 years, so apogee then becomes perigee on near that date, you would probably get a reverse effect. You know what I mean? Because I've only ever measured it over a year, you see. So it would be interesting to measure it over two years. But it's just having the time to do it. You know what I mean? It's quite time consuming to pump them numbers into a graph. You know what I mean? It's just getting the time, and that's something I haven't got. I did forget to mention that I will be me and Jenna Fredo will be starting a new show on Flat Earth Radio Live next year.
Woo!
Yeah, so
is that the same Flat Earth Radio Live that was at the convention?
Yeah, you know, with Mark Hollander and Rick Lowtech. Yeah, so we've got a slot on there. It will probably be monthly. I would say it'd be monthly, but it's called the F Files. So we'll be looking into all phenomena related to flat Earth, from photography, you know, infrared, looking at all the things related to flat Earth, the stuff that we question. You know what I mean? So the first show is interestingly is on photography, and we'll have Ron Hagberg will be our first guest on there because he's pretty nifty with the P1000. So yeah, I think that'll be a good guest to have. But that will kick off next year. Rick Lowtech's going to produce it, and we're just getting things up and rolling now. And hopefully we can have a good show, something new for the future.
Yes, sounds really great. And all that you do is just amazing, Dave.
Yes, it's. I think it's the years are getting busier and busier and busier. You know what I mean? Like 2016, like weren't really a busy year as such. Like then 2017 come and things started kicking off, and 2018 was crazy. So, what's 2019 got to offer? We'll have to wait and see. But we're not far off, are we?
Do you know if you're coming next year to the convention in Dallas?
I haven't made my mind up yet.
Okay.
The likelihood is, if Robbie lets me do another presentation there, without a doubt I'll come. But I was thinking I would have liked to gone to Toronto personally.
Yeah.
You know, that for me would be even though it probably wouldn't be as big as the international one, I would have liked to go to Toronto personally.
Yeah. Well, it definitely would have been a lot closer.
Yeah, like I say, it's I've been asked to do a presentation at the New Zealand one, where Robbie Davison and Rob Skiba's going to be doing it. So, but we'll have to see how that pans out. I haven't heard a lot on it since I come back from the conference, so I'm just playing that on by ear. Yeah, I've got the time off work, but I'm not committing myself until it's set in stone. You know what I mean? Because that'd be a silly thing to do, really, if I don't to commit to that and then it all falls to pieces. You know what I mean?
Busy to come on Sun and Moon, then, will you, Dave?
Never too busy for Sun and Moon.
Oh, we love you too, Dave. Dave's one of my first Flat Earth friends, and I've followed him sort of, you know, from the beginning almost, when you first started taking your pictures.
I can remember when we did the hangouts offline. Remember?
Yeah, we used to originally do the hangouts like this, but they were done on the private bit, and they would just go on with Facebook group.
Yes, yeah, it's been
I forgot about that.
it's been an interesting journey, hasn't it?
It has, and I'm so pleased for you.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to shoot now because I've got to be up at 4:30 in the morning, and it's now 11:10.
Oh,
So
okay then, Dave.
I'm
Well, we'll talk to Rich for a minute then. But Dave, always keep in touch. I'm going to go and look at your chemtrail one. If you find that suddenly you get a link from me, then I've mirrored it.
okay. Nice to see you again, Rich.
Yeah, same here, Dave. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. I hope I could, like I say, it would have been nice to do the presentation in full screen, but we'll try and sort some out for next time.
Well, Dave, we'll have to have another one.
Yeah. Okay then. Take care.
Take
All
care,
right,
Dave.
Dave. Thank you so much.
Cheers, all. Bye bye.
Bye, Dylan. Hey, Rich.
Hey there.
Left me. I still think this. Well, that was amazing what Dave did. I love Dave. I've met Dave myself, and he's such a nice guy, isn't he, Rich?
Yeah, very nice guy. Very nice. Genuine person.
Yeah, he is. He's very kind, and yeah, he's very easygoing as well. I still think the other day I said it, but I don't know if Dave, I don't know, because nobody really knows how high and everything is. But I said I was driving to work, and suddenly I saw the moon in a very south position that I couldn't see from my house, but it was there. And then I thought, well, I couldn't see it from my house. I only have to drive a couple of miles up the road, and I can see it. And so I think when everybody says, oh, the moon's missing, it's not. It's just a few more miles away, and you can't see it.
Well, you never know if it's really local. It could be that way.
Yeah, well, that's my observation. But, you know, like, yeah, that's my observation here. But I still think the UK is quite north. If a great big stretched out Big Dipper in America, and I have to go down into the sort of field to go and see the Big Dipper in Denmark, but it's over my house in the UK.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too.
I know. I don't think they're telling us the truth on anything. I was talking to Jin, who's in the chat room. He gets the feeling that the UK is lying on its side as well. So they're just not telling us the truth about where everything is, are they?
Well, if they lie about one little thing, why not lie about it all?
They are lying about it all, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what everything I look into. There's always something wrong. It seems like. Or something you can't make sense of with what they say.
Back to front. Did you happen to see that little video I sent you? Well, I sent you the same person with like the rainbow thing in the sky, but it's the sun and then another one where there's a light source below and a light source above. I don't know if you looked at those ones.
No, I haven't. Not yet.
She's in Sweden. Have a look at those ones, Rich. She's in Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah. So if she sees those things again, she said she'll send them to me.
That's awesome. Oh, you know, I was thinking when Dave was on here talking about how all of a sudden he got busy. I don't think any of us thought we'd be doing scientific endeavors 2 or 3 years ago.
No, you're our scientists. You're our scientists.
That's right. So are you, actually. You're taking observations, right?
We're the platform. You're the scientists. But yeah, we get to obviously hear a lot of people talking about the information, don't we, as a group? But, you know, as I was saying, maybe Dave doesn't want to write a book right now, but maybe he will in a few years' time. And then I think he can add it to all those other books he's got.
So he's written books before?
No. He's got books that you die for. He's got like originals, really old books about whatever.
Oh, really?
Whole thing. It cost him books. And he just likes collecting them. I was thinking, yeah, you can write your own and put it with it. Well, that's the thing I like about Dave. He's meek, he's mild, and he's humble. So that's the best way to go, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely better than the alternative, isn't it?
It is, Rich. We've talked about this occasionally, yeah. But so yeah, I spoke to you earlier on. You've not been feeling that great, have you?
No, just one of those periods where I'm dealing with headaches. So. And went to an acupuncturist today. She treated me for it, and so far the pain's gone, but I still don't feel right. I don't even think I'm thinking right. It just takes a lot out of you.
I can tell by your voice, by the way, when you left me a voice message, I could tell that you weren't quite you.
Yeah, I don't know. Some migraines, you just get the pain and nothing else is wrong. Other ones are like this one where everything goes wrong. In fact, you can't think right, you can't talk right. It's just weird. And like I said, even when the pain's gone, sometimes you have after effects for a day or two where you feel like you've run like 2 marathons and you're just depleted. That's the
I
best way
did
I
say
guess
the other day, did you used to get these headaches before you hit your head?
No, and I had my head in the Navy in 81 or 82, and I didn't start getting migraines until I was about 40. So 25 years later, or 20 years later.
Right, so this is something more sort of, it's newer than older, if you know what I mean. It's not
Yeah,
something...
it's most likely it's inherited. My mother had them. My sister gets them, and I don't know. I've every time you go to a different specialist, they want to send you through a whole series of everything to see what it's related to, or if it is. They start you off with, did you eat chocolate or did you have coffee? And you start keeping logs of what you eat and drink. And absolutely everything that I've ever gone through, there's no correlation. Believe it or not, the biggest correlation my ex-wife picked up on was I tend to get migraines on Saturday.
No.
And her theory was, well, maybe you're relaxing because you're not working during the week, but since I've been disabled, there's no difference from Saturday to Wednesday. It's just every day is the same. So, and I still tend to get it more often on Saturday, and I have no clue why, unless it's a cycle that I'm just stuck on.
I did say to you, like, I had a friend that was a acupuncture, what have you been to? Was it you've been today? Where have you been today?
Acupuncture.
That's it. Acupuncture. Right. She's one of the ones that yanks your bones back in. What's that one? I've forgotten.
Chiropractor.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, everybody. And I said she noticed that my friend was going, oh, my leg hurt or whatever. And then she looked at her trousers and she said, yeah, your hips are out. Look at your trouser legs. One of your trouser legs is completely the different length. It was the way she was standing because her hips were out. And I was just saying, if when you hit your head, your head sits on like an axis. If you've whacked that access out, imagine how many problems you're going to get.
Well, I've been told that every single vertebrae in my neck is herniated and bulged, and there's stenosis with each one, arthritis, the whole works. What can go wrong with a disc is there. But I'm sure it was from that head injury. And I went to two different specialists, and they both said this is from an old injury. It's nothing new. And that's the only that's the only thing that happened to me old. I've had little taps, rear-ending, car accidents, things like that, but they're relatively new and nothing major with that at all. So it's got to be that. But
yeah, and what's it like with the P900 then, Rich? A lot to learn, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. I went out to, like I said, the little bit of time I had, I was just trying to point and shoot, and even those, they turned out awful. So now I've got it on a setting where it is auto zoom, and autofocus with the zoom, and it does focus, but I've got the shutter speed wrong for taking pictures of a moving object. I was trying to take pictures of Charlie like 100 yards away, and just his little bit of movement made everything blurry. So I've got to make it so it's faster.
In the camera that you can see it and it looks in focus or it looks right, or you think, look at that amazing color, and then when you've taken the picture, oh, well, it doesn't come out like I wanted it to.
Yeah. And believe it or not, we've had bad weather since I've got the camera, which is unusual too.
Oh, I feel very sorry for you, Rich. You should have some of ours.
Yeah.
It'd be like Denver all the time.
I couldn't deal with yours. I just couldn't. That's why I moved from the East Coast, because it was too much like yours. Still not as bad as yours.
I think actually it's kind of warmed up a bit now, so it's not quite as cold right now. But it's not like Arizona.
Yeah, I'd have to convert it. It's still mild here. It gets up to near 70 during the day. Convert 70 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius. I want to say it's about 21. So it's 21 Celsius most of the time here still.
Rich, that's almost our summer.
That does get colder at night. It'll get about 5 to 7 degrees Celsius.
I must admit, though, even though it was really hot this year and a couple of summers, it really does feel like you're being microwaved. They'll say it's 21 degrees and you think, it's just so hot. I don't mean we've got blazing sun, but if the sun's been there or it's warmed up, you think, this is already hot. This has got to be hotter than 21 degrees. It's really bizarre, some of that. They're probably just microwaving us, aren't they?
You never know.
Sort of. I'm microwaving the air rather than they don't care about us, do they? So.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So you put a video out. You put your presentation out yesterday, didn't you? Well, last night.
I did, and it's been sitting there for a while. With the headaches and everything, it just hadn't been edited. So I was like feeling good enough yesterday or late yesterday. I was like, let me just get this done and upload it because I know some people wanted to see it who missed it at the convention. So I'll put that up there for them. And that's pretty much, I did it almost in the same time. In fact, I was within 1 minute of my presentation that we had to rush through. So I think it was a good way to do it anyway, because without getting into a lot of detail, I think a lot more people get it. But that's sort of my prelude to the first documentary I want to do, which is on the moon, which I want to make my purpose for that. And I want everybody to try to spread that when it happens, because I want people to be able to go out and see that something is wrong with the model. And that's the point I want to get across in the documentary without mentioning flat Earth whatsoever. So I'm hoping that'll be an eye opener, like a little red pill for people to take, their little baby step. Something is wrong, and then maybe they'll keep looking and get the flat Earth. In fact, they'll have to get the flat Earth if they keep looking. But I don't want to mention flat Earth in the documentary because I just don't want to scare people away. I want to bring more people in through that. And since
having to leave out the very words, aren't we, nowadays?
What's that?
You have to leave out flat Earth.
Well, I don't mind putting the word in, but in this case, I definitely want to go after an audience who may be averse. If they see flat Earth in the title, everybody does that. They'll no matter what the subject, they'll put flat Earth if it's even related on their channel. And I think a lot of people just don't go to it. As soon as they see flat Earth, they laugh and leave. But if they see a documentary on the moon, I'm not even sure what title would be.
Yeah.
And these are, I want to put in observations they can do themselves, like I did in the presentation, to say to somebody, hey, what do you think it is? How come there is never any blue around the moon at all? And, just get people to start thinking, because that's really our biggest obstacle, is getting people to think. The trolls that come and things like that, they don't think. That's their problem. They just want to have stuff poured in like a funnel into their head and just believe it blindly. And if you come along and challenge that, you're the idiot. When they don't even realize that nothing that has been given to them has been proven, not a thing.
I know. It's horrible, really. I was saying earlier on that, a lot of us might have fought it at the beginning. Like I did. I suddenly, a little box came up with flat Earth, and I just finished 9/11, and I thought, no, because 9/11 was 3 years, and I was like, no. And then sort of, what is it, a week or two later, I watch the first one, done. But I'm just so surprised when it's floating around so much more that more people won't just go and even check it out themselves. They don't know. But we did. We might have all gone, no, I'm not. What's that? Oh, I'm not interested in that. And then one video, usually, I don't know, 15 to 16 was such a big wake up for everybody. 2015, 2016.
Yes, that was the time period. Definitely was, no doubt about it. That was our great awakening, wasn't it?
It was. It's really strange, don't you think? That I don't know whether it was that film though, with Sandra Bullock that started it as well.
What film was that?
She just what's it called? The one the one when they're out in space. Gravity. Is it Gravity? I can't remember what it's called now. The film. You know which one I mean, don't you?
Yeah. I think that. Yeah.
And people were looking at that and thinking, but this looks better than the ISS space station.
Yeah, you know, there's people that argue with me that they could not have faked the moon landing video because they didn't have the technology. It's like, have you seen some of the stuff they were doing in the 30s with film? Incredible stuff. Have you ever seen the movie Gone with the Wind?
Yeah.
There's a scene where the main character, Scarlett, she goes to a place where they have a lot of wounded people, and the camera sort of pans back, or you think it's panning back, and it just shows, it looks like miles and miles of wounded people laying in the street being cared for and things like that. And it looks unbelievably real. And then I saw a video, I don't know, or a movie not too long ago, showed how they did that scene. And it was really almost 100% fakery. It's like the first maybe half a block was real people laying there, and the whole rest of the miles and miles of people were just, it was all fake. It wasn't green screen, but it's the same effect. And then people, you know, you have something like that, and that was so realistic, and it really looked like it was there. And then people don't think they can create a fake moon set in 1969. It's just ridiculous.
Hey, just changing the subject, it just came into my mind at the moment. What do you think about what's happening in France and sort of coming over here a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's part of the Great Awakening with the Q stuff, really. People are they're done with this globalism crap, and they're starting to get fed up enough, and they're starting to see it. That's their awakening. They're awakening in a different way, and it's spreading. That's what that is. And you know, I never thought, you know, from the, if you watch U.S. media, Trump is nothing but bad, bad, bad. But overseas, you know, wasn't that in London? They were yelling, "We want Trump." Or somewhere in the UK and in France during the protests, they were saying, "We want Trump." What they want is, they don't necessarily want Trump. They want someone who's going to stand up for their national rights and not go along with this globalist bullshit. Pardon my language.
So I just had a message come through, Rich. It was Trouble About, who comes on our panel sometimes. She said to tell you, with your headaches or migraines, take bicarbonate 1 teaspoon in a glass. If it's too salty, it's too strong. Or if you can't taste it, he needs more. It stops migraines within minutes.
Okay, I appreciate that. I will try that next time. Did she say half a teaspoon?
She said 1 teaspoon in a glass. But if you think, oh, it's too salty, it's too much. And if you can't taste it, it's not enough.
Now, did you call it sodium bicarbonate?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Bicarbonate. She's put, so that's, I think that's that, isn't it? Bicarb.
Okay, bicarb.
Bicarbonate.
I think.
Yeah, that's soda, isn't it? Bicarbonate soda.
We would call that baking soda, I think, is what she's talking about. Yeah, okay, I would definitely try that.
Yeah. Thank you, Trouble About.
Yeah, much appreciated. I'm not supposed to take my migraine medicine because it can cause repeat heart attacks. Although I do if it's really bad. So that'd be a nice alternative if it works.
She's writing something else now. She's probably going to tell me something else.
Okay.
She's actually in the chat room, but she's in Australia. Do you know what, though? I was talking to someone today who's in Japan. Guess how long it took them to get to Hawaii?
To Hawaii? Flying? I would think not too long.
9 hours.
9 hours? Wow, that doesn't seem right, does it? 9 hours from Japan?
They live in Japan and they went to Hawaii.
Wow, I got to look that up on the map to see if I'm thinking about that right. I didn't even think, I would think it would take less than 9 hours to get from Japan to the west coast of the U.S.
And when Bling Bling went across from where she lives to San Diego, that took, I don't know, it took 4 or 5 hours, something like that, to fly. Yeah,
you can cross the U.S. in 4 to 5 hours, especially going west to east, which should take longer if the globe's spinning, but it's not. It's a little bit faster that way because of the jet stream. It's a bit of a shame, really, because it was spinning. All I do is put my umbrella up, and I could be over in a minute. That's true. Or we could do, all of us could jump Just keep jumping to where we want to get. We want to go west. All you have to do is jump up, and you'll land about 1.5 blocks west each jump.
Yeah. You'd be going, hey, it's all right, Karen. I'll be there tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll be home in the, half a millisecond later.
Yeah. Well, it was in the UK, that lady in the 40s, maybe, who wanted to demonstrate that the Earth wasn't spinning. She got in a hot air balloon, and she said, if the Earth's spinning, I should arrive on my own in New York within 4 or 5 hours, or whatever the time period was. And she did it, and of course, she floated up there for 4 or 5 hours and came right back down where she started.
Yeah, do you know where we'd all be going right now? Well, half the people would say, let's go north, and half the people will go, let's go south. Oh, there you go. She's written something else to me now. Hang on.
Alrighty.
She said bicarbonate soda, not powder. And she used an organic.
Okay.
And she uses an organic one. So soda, not powder. Yeah, I do know people that struggle with migraines, and they usually have to sort of lie down in a room for a few days.
And she said organic, right? I can get organic.
Yeah. My packet says baking powder. So it's what you said it was.
Oh,
Thank
baking
you,
powder.
Yeah.
There's a difference between baking powder and baking soda. Here there is.
Well, it's probably called soda, but it's baking powder, isn't it?
Here they're different things.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, I can't remember. I haven't used it. We don't have. When I was younger, we probably had to put that in the flour. But nowadays, you either buy plain or self-raising, so you don't have to worry about all those things.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I decided to make a cake, and my mother tasted it, and she was like, something's not right here. And that was my mistake. I put baking soda in instead of baking powder.
Oh. Well, yeah. So I was thinking about it. She says baking powder. Sorry. She said she meant baking powder, not soda. Cross that off, powder.
Alrighty, that I can do. But she says it's not a powder?
Yeah, it's all right. Changed her mind. She's just realised, and she said it's not a powder. It is a baking powder. Yeah, it is powder. She's got a bit there. Sorry.
You got it. I know exactly what it is. Then I'll get it.
Try it once, Rich. See if it does work for you. I'll try it a couple of times.
I will, definitely. Hopefully, it'll be a long time before I find out.
I was thinking last time we saw you, you were in that hotel room, and you had to in the end you got a microphone borrowed, didn't you? Thank you, Hori.
Yeah, actually, Hori fixed the microphone on my computer. That's what happened.
Oh, he's such a good man.
Yeah, and he lives close now, so it's awesome.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't want to say too much, but I think you might find that Bling Bling's coming your way a bit in the next few months.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
She visiting?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's in the chat room. Hi, Bling Bling still.
Hello, Bling Bling.
Yeah, all these people have met each other. Oh, here, she sent it to me. I'll send it to you, Rich.
All right, appreciate it.
It's gluten-free as well. Yeah, it's baking powder.
Okay.
It's amazing, isn't it? You go to the doctor, get all those prescriptions, and you actually need baking powder.
Yeah. Another lie.
Oh, Chris Bling Bling says you can buy them as tablets.
Oh, interesting.
Wait a minute, I'll just read what she says. She says, tell Rich you can buy the tablets in the pharmacy that are called sodium bicarbonate.
Okay.
Is that a picture of what's that one of? Oh, right, she's telling me something else. Okay, yeah, so you got that then. What's that? She sent me another picture now. Okay. Anyway, anybody else got any ideas for Mr. Thrive and Survive then? Any more remedies?
Well, like I said, I hope it takes a month or two before I actually get to try it. That means I won't have any migraines in between.
I was just wondering how much after you've actually got back, because Dave said he didn't feel right for a few days after he left because, you know, it's quite high altitude. Do you think that being where you were might have given you the headaches or might have brought them on?
No, you know, when I got back, I was fine. Even though I think you remember what happened to me. I got stuck in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, I know that was awful, Rich.
Yeah, I had to spend a night at the freaking airport. That wasn't fun. So no, this is the first migraine I've had in about a month or maybe even 2, which is unbelievably unusual. So I'm very grateful. I haven't had any. But I'm also getting Botox injections for migraines, and I think that's finally keeping me from getting the migraines as often.
Sorry, people keep messaging. Bling Bing's still messaging me. I'll have to screenshot them to you and send them to you in a minute afterwards, Rich.
All right, sounds good.
She's saying that Margaret takes those tablets, her friend that lives with them. And she takes tablets for her kidneys. So
let
again,
me tell you a couple of the ideas we have so far with our experiments.
Yeah.
We're going to go. We found a area where there's a railroad track that's about 10 to 20 miles in length, and the difference in elevation over that whole 20 miles is no more than 150 feet. And so we're thinking about going and doing some perspective experiments there, and also some testing for the Salton Sea, where we're going to go New Year's weekend, the weekend before New Year's Day. We're going to go to the Salton Sea, which is in California. It's the southern part between California and Mexico. There's a big sea there, and I'm hoping they have boats. But I've got a drone. I got the drone in, and it's got lights on the bottom, so that'll give me some experience with the cameras. The guy's going to go with me. It's got the P900, the P1000. I'm going to take my 2 cameras, and my son, who's the globe believer, he's going to go. He's going to operate the drone, and hopefully after this, he'll realize that, hey, we're seeing too far if it's a globe. So, but anyway, I think that'll give me a lot of experience there across that lake, so that when I go to Lake Pontchartrain, I'll be able to do these things on my own, or at least I'm hoping somebody will meet me there too, so that we can do some experiments there. But we're going to definitely show, or I'm going to definitely show that those Soundly pictures are just unbelievable compression and fakery, really, in my mind. If he didn't fake it, he's using a compression level on the camera that makes it look like like there's a curve, and the curve doesn't go the right direction anyway. The curve should be down from him, not up first and then down. But like I said, we're going to use the drone. We're hopefully, this guy's got a laser. He's buying a laser. I think he said he was ordering that today. So we're going to do a laser experiment too. And I'm hoping we can get a captain of a small boat to go across that lake. I think it's about 10 miles wide at its widest point. And we're hopefully going to be able to keep that laser on the back of the boat all the way across. So those are the things we're going to try to do.
Sorry, at the same time that Bling Bling and Trouble About are still messaging me for you, Rich, so I'll send them over to you later. But Bling Bling, can I come through again? That's them, sorry. Bling Bling was saying on her way home today, she actually recorded the speed of the aircraft. Guess how fast she was going? Well, what they said.
I don't know.
640 miles an hour.
I guess this is when they're way up in the air.
33,000 feet, 640 miles an hour.
That sounds possible up there because you don't have too much resistance from wind.
Wow. That's not how fast is this? Is supposedly the speed of sound then?
I think it's between 700 and 800 miles per hour. So she didn't quite get there.
Wow. Did it feel like that, Bling Bling? That's still quite fast though, isn't it? It's hard to imagine, really.
Yeah, that's very fast.
Unless you're on the space station where you're doing 5 miles a second.
Ask her if she was going west to east.
Hang on a second. She was going from San Diego back home.
Yeah, they caught the jet stream that pushed them that fast. The jet stream can go up to 200 miles per hour. So if you get the certain altitude, that'll just push you faster than whatever is pushing the airplane.
Right. Also, just to let you know, Hori's in the chat room as well. Hori,
Oh,
we've been talking
hello,
about
Hori.
you. You mended Mr. Thrive and Survive's microphone.
Yeah, just time for our chat that day.
Yeah. Yeah, so are you going to take a little bit of time off still, Rich? Or are you going to make more videos and more things? What are you going to put out?
Yeah, I've got a couple of videos in mind. Something that actually Crow came up with on his channel. I'm going to talk about. I need to do a little bit more research, but he talked about discovering or NASA saying they discovered a ring outside of the Van Allen belts, which is more solid than the Van Allen belts, and won't allow radio. From what I understand, will not allow radio waves to penetrate through it. So, and that's between us and the moon. So, how did they communicate from the moon if this is what NASA says is in between, and radio waves can't get through it? So that's one thing. Another thing I saw recently was somebody, NASA is saying now that water is everywhere in space. And I'm not talking about just little teeny vapor here and there. They're saying it's literally everywhere, like we've been saying anyway. And what Crow's been saying too, that there's water, literally tons of water out there. And maybe that is why the astronaut, whoever that was, nearly drowned in space, because he literally was in water. Or he was in a swimming pool faking it. One of the two. But either way would explain it.
Yeah, there is a lot of I don't even, because I mean, for instance, puddles, they evaporate up. All this water's going up. I know we don't see it quite, but it's still there, isn't it? Well, we do see it, but
there's so much water in the
sort of.
atmosphere, people don't realize how much is there. It's really unbelievable tonnage above your head every day that you're walking through, even more in the UK.
Yeah. Anyway, I was wondering, you live in the desert, so how does that work with moisture? Because we need moisture in the air for our lungs. So if it's dead dry where you are, how does that work then? There must still be moisture in the air.
There is, but not much. This is why you always see me drinking water, because it is so dry here. It's not so bad this time of year, although it's not great. The humidity is usually around 20 to 30% at most this time of year. But when it gets into spring and starts warming up, you'll have days where it's 3% humidity, things like that. Unbelievably low humidity. Actually, most people say they breathe easier with less humidity. A lot of people a lot of doctors in the 19th and 20th early 20th century would recommend people with tuberculosis come out here because the dry climate was easier for them to breathe. But you would think it would be opposite, wouldn't you?
Mm. I've also got something else I'm going to send you. Roxanne sent it to me. It's too much to read out, and it's in such small writing I can't see it properly. But this bit got highlighted, and it said it's talking about cameras, and they've mentioned that it can automatically photograph the entire firmament down to the horizon. So I'm going to send you the whole article, see what you think about that.
Okay, very good. Appreciate it.
Maybe we don't even understand what the firmament is, that it might just be the sky.
Yeah, who knows?
I know, it's very bad, that, isn't it? Everybody what is it? You're mad. I'm a globe supporter. I know everything. Actually, know nothing, and still we don't know everything. 2019 nearly.
Yep. Well, we probably did know it all before, and they've hid it from us.
By the way, Bling Bling reckoned on message, because she's been messaging away, that 645 is, speed of sound is 675.
Oh, well, she got really close then.
Yeah, it must have been whoosh. You'd have seen that vapor around the plane before long.
Yeah. Well, I remember when on the ship, when the fighters and stuff would come by and you'd hear the sonic boom. A lot of times I could not find the aircraft in the air. I couldn't see it. But, you know, they're much smaller than a jumbo jet.
When I lived in Hungerford, Bristol was still nearly an hour away, but I could hear the boom when Concorde hit the channel to go off to America. Then it went supersonic, and I was nearly an hour away, and we could hear the boom from my house. Isn't that crazy? How does it? Wow.
You know,
technically there is. You know, there's birds, planes, cars traveling, but I could hear the boom. That was an hour away.
Well, that wouldn't be possible an hour away if we were on a globe.
No.
The sound would never get to you.
No, and we also Puncher Pete was on the other day, and he was talking about the fact that he's researched fuel stuff, and he can't see that those things are anything other than like nitrogen generator. Basically, it's compressing the air, and that the planes are flying on free energy. It's a bit like you use petrol on the ground, and then something happens. The Wright brothers, you switched it over, so even the Wright brothers used electric when they were flying. It makes sense, though, doesn't it, Rich? When you think about it, why would you be chugging around with masses of fuel in the plane? You'd want to make it the safest as possible.
Yeah, well, now they added, you know, fuel, I'm sure, is not too far away from water as far as weight. Can you imagine just the weight of that? You'd never get it off the ground.
Did you think that one? Because I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to fly if there's thousands of tons of petrol underneath my feet. Which is important.
Yeah, those wings could never handle it because they're designed to be super lightweight, and they're actually pretty frail because they're made out of thin aluminum and thin metalloids. They can never handle all that tons of fuel. It's a lie.
And the bit I don't think we realise people don't seem to understand is that every picture they show, they've always got the tanks in the wings. But you look at a wing, I mean, I'm not sure about the new ones, but the slightly older ones, they've got flaps at the front, flaps at the back. Those retract, go in and out. So where do the petrol tanks go?
I know. Well, I told you when the aircraft took off on the aircraft carrier, as soon as they got off the bow of the ship, as soon as they took off, within 2 or 3 seconds, you'd see them start to squirt the fuel out of their wings. They would literally dump the fuel out.
It can't be too much, can it? Can you imagine all that fuel constantly being sprayed down below?
Yeah, well, this was raw fuel. They didn't even burn it. It just ejected it out raw.
That's weird, isn't it? Because sure, that's not very safe and hygienic for all those people living near an airport if they're going to do that every time they take off.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the big ones do it. I just think they take enough to get started and get takeoff, and then they probably switch off using fuel until they get really low again when they're ready to land. They probably use a little fuel as they're going, probably just to keep everything moving. Maybe a spark plug or something, but nothing like what we're told they use.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
This just seems like ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we never thought about it before. You just accept what they tell you, and you never think about the weight that would be in the wings and all that kind of different stuff. And when you see these flights come in from thousands of miles away and they land, and then they go another 1,000 miles, and they never even took on any more fuel after they landed. It's crazy. Or if they do take on fuel, they hook it up for a couple of minutes and they're done.
Yeah, I think it's crazy, really. But the only thing is that the person I made a little video out, he put a comment, but he said he didn't obviously want me to sell his name because he's still in the military, and he was just saying that people see the lorries come or whatever, and they just assume there's masses of petrol coming when there isn't. They always see it coming to the plane, or they always think there's masses. So that's what they've been told, isn't it? And they think they see it, but they're not. So they must all know then. It's just crazy. It is like we're living in a computer game.
Yeah.
Well, how could we get away with that for all those years and we didn't notice?
Well, when I was on the aircraft carrier, every 3 days, on average, we brought on 2 million gallons of jet fuel and 5 million gallons of diesel for the ship. And the ship got, are you ready for this? 3 feet to the gallon. And but like I said, you would think you're burning a whole lot of fuel, but I don't know how much they're really burning when as soon as they take off, they start ejecting it out their wings, dumping the fuel. So I don't know what all that's about, but it's another one of those things I didn't really think about too much then, because the explanation was okay. The explanation was, well, regulations say you have to carry this much weight when you take off, or this much fuel when you take off. But once you take off and you're in the air, then that regulation isn't so strict and you can dump it. And that's what we were told. Working the flight deck, and I worked in air fuels, so I know what I'm talking about. When I was up there watching it happen. So
because there's another thing, you know, like if anybody's watched Enslaved by No Media, it's like although Bling Bling was shown on her seat, she was traveling 600 and something miles an hour at 33,000 feet. She could have been traveling at 300 miles an hour at 3.5 miles up, because they've lied about everything.
That is true. The only way to know for sure is to, well, the one flight I kept my app open the whole time, and I still haven't gone back and looked at that data, but I could easily pick out between 2 points according to the GPS that was on my app, be able to calculate what the miles per hour was. So I actually got that data not for that, but I got it to see if we went in a straight line or in a circle route, and I still haven't looked at that data yet, but I still got it.
I'm sure it won't be a circle.
I'm sure it won't be either.
We've been going for nearly 3 hours, Rich. We've lost Dave. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or do you think we should just...
Yeah, I'm actually good to go. It's hard for me to actually think right now, believe it or not. Most people say, yeah, that's true most of the time, Rich. But it's really tough for me right now to just even communicate.
Oh, nobody said anything bad about our Rich. Dun dun. Well, thank you to Dave Marsh. Always great having him. He's a friend of mine, and as I've known him for, well, only a few years now, and he's great. Thank you so much, chat room, and Renee and everybody in the chat room. Marve's there, Nimblehorse, Nora, No One's Flower, Christopher Brady's there, Sioda, Jeep Girl, Super Leads. Oh, dearie me, there's so many people. And of course, a Flat Earth dude's there, but he's working. And thank you so much, Rich, for coming on and sharing some time with us.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. Much appreciated.
Pleasure. We'll say goodbye off air, but on air, it's good night from us, and see you tomorrow. Mwah.
Bye, everyone.